Chapter 997. Evil Soul Master. These 3 words weren't revealed at all. However, to many soul masters and higher-ups, the destruction of evil soul masters was something to be happy about. It was also something to be alarmed about. The impact of this victory to the commoners was probably nothing more than after-dinner chatter. However, the meaning behind it was incomparably great. After this war, the higher-ups of the Martial Soul Alliance, the 2 empires, and the 7 great sects held a meeting. Although the Martial Soul Alliance's future path hadn't been completely decided, at least the general direction was completely unified. Whether it was the 2 empires, the Alliance, or the 7 great sects, they planned to completely let go of the previous heavy burden. They wanted to achieve true unity. As for how to decide the Alliance's future development, the Martial Soul Alliance planned to wait until Qianrenxue appeared. Now that Bibidon was dead, Qianrenxue was considered the successor of the Martial Soul Alliance. At the same time, they wanted to wait for the white-clothed Popedif, who had the highest reputation on the continent, to return to the continent before continuing the discussion. Tang San's side naturally wanted to wait for Wang Feng's return. At the same time, Tang San planned to make another trip to Sea God's Island. He wanted to inherit the true Sea God's deity position. This was because he now had 2 martial souls and 9 soul rings, and he also saved Xiao Wu. After fulfilling the 8th test's conditions, he naturally passed the 9th test and inherited the Sea God's power. Oceanic City. Tang San's group was planning to go out to sea. I really didn't expect the situation on the continent to reach this stage. Dai Mubai let out a long sigh. I never dreamed that our 2 empires and the 7 great sects would truly unite with the Martial Soul Alliance to resolve the previous grudges. Yes, I originally wanted to change the Martial Soul Alliance. Ma Hongjun was speechless. Who knew that the Martial Soul Alliance would be completely different from what we imagined? After Captain became the white-clothed Popedif, the Martial Soul Alliance seemed to have changed. It seems to have changed the Martial Spirit Palace imperceptibly. As a spy, this is the limit, right? If Brother Feng hadn't been exposed on Sea God's Island, do you think Captain would have really become the Pope? Everyone. Needless to say, this was really possible. Now that Bibidon was dead, the white-robed Popedif was the 2nd successor of the Martial Spirit Palace. Even if Hu Liena became the Pope, with her feelings for Wang Feng, what was the difference between that and Wang Feng becoming the Pope? Everyone sighed. Third brother, there aren't any true God-ranked experts on the continent right now. Ma Hongjun looked at Tang San and said with a smile, if we go to the Sea God's Island again, you should be the first person to inherit the godhood, right? However, inheriting the godhood might be very difficult. The 1000 Dao current from the Alliance hadn't appeared recently. Rumor has it that he's about to pass away. Do you think it has something to do with Qianrenxue becoming a god? Tang San was startled. He frowned and said, if that's the case, then there's no point in becoming a god. If becoming a god requires the sacrifice of other people's lives, then it's better not to become a god. Right now, the Martial Soul Alliance was unified. Even though there were still potential threats from evil soul masters, as long as the continent was united, it would enter a stage of rapid development. If evil soul masters really came knocking on his door in the future, he wouldn't be able to take advantage of them. Under such circumstances, Tang San's desire for the godhood wasn't that strong. Naturally, he didn't want to use other people's lives in exchange for power. Brother, what nonsense are you talking about? Xiao Wu said softly. Even though the Alliance is unified now and I don't have any grudges with the Martial Soul Alliance, we still have to fight. Think about it, if that Qianrenxue becomes a god, the Martial Soul Hall's voice will definitely be more powerful in the Alliance in the future. If you become a god, you can intimidate them. However, it's also a form of deterrence. It's not enough to rely on Brother Feng alone. When facing a true god-ranked expert, only a god-ranked expert of the same level can do it. Furthermore, becoming a God-ranked expert is the ultimate goal of a soul master. How can it not happen just because you say so? Tang San sighed softly and said, "Of course I know. However, Xiao Wu, think about it. If becoming a god is like the 1,000 Dao current and requires the sacrifice of senior possessee, will I be able to live with it?" Brother, you're so stupid," Xiao Wu suddenly said. "After becoming a god, the power of a god is not something that mortals can compare to. Moreover, after becoming a god, can't you revive a mortal? Senior possessee is not a god. After you become a god, you can cultivate properly. There are definitely strong and weak gods, right? One day you can revive senior possessee. Not just senior possessee, even Deming and Erming might be able to revive after becoming a god. Their souls are stored in your soul rings." Xiao Wu's words seemed to have enlightened Tang San, waking him up with a start. "Yes, I'm really confused. When I become a god, I can revive them, right?" For a moment, Tang San recalled how Brother Feng had the power to destroy the world with just a raise of his hand. Brother Feng's strength, even if he's not a god, should be very close to it? How can I fall behind Brother Feng? Tang San looked at the distant sea, his heart filled with fighting spirit. "I will become a sea god." It had been a few days since Wang Feng recovered. At the top of the jade spirit tree, a huge amount of energy gathered and poured into Wang Feng's body. The loss of blood essence was extremely serious for him. When Wang Feng really started to recover, he realized it. If a normal soul cultivator lost so much blood essence, even the most precious of treasures wouldn't be able to save them. One had to know that every drop of blood essence contained not only Wang Feng's soul power but also his vitality. One could imagine. It was also because Wang Feng's current body was comparable to a god's body. His soul power had changed, and he had the esoteric word. After the second brush with the chaotic divine light, his body's potential had been greatly enhanced. That was why he dared to do such a thing. With his current body, it took him such a long time to recover and barely recover a lot. One could imagine. At the top of the Jade Emperor tree. "Sister, why has he been weak for so long?" The Ice Emperor looked at Wang Feng. In the past few days, the Snow Empress and the Ice Emperor went to various places in the extreme north to check on the situation. In case there were still soul beasts that had not been cleared of the blood soul poison. In case there were future troubles. At the same time, they discussed with the Azure Emperor about the unification of the extreme north. After this war, many soul beasts had died in the extreme north. However, they were comforted by the fact that many of the soul beasts that had died were evil and troublesome soul beasts. The Azure Emperor was very interested in unifying the extreme north. In addition, the extreme north had just gone through this war, and there was a huge reshuffling of power. It was a good opportunity to unify the extreme north. As a result, Qing Qing led the 7 of them and started the plan to unify the extreme north. The Snow Empress said softly, "He has lost a lot of blood essence. For a human of his level, it's already unbelievable that he's just weak. However, his soul power will at least decrease." Hearing this, the Ice Emperor was stunned. "Is it that serious? We still have some treasures here that are useful to humans. Should we give them to him?" The Snow Empress shook her head gently. "It's useless. He absorbs energy very quickly. We don't have any treasures here that can replenish his blood essence. Furthermore, he is very strong. These treasures are not very useful to him." The Ice Emperor sighed softly. After that, there was silence. "When will he wake up?" the Ice Emperor asked again. The Snow Empress looked at Wang Feng. She had a complicated look in her eyes. Although Wang Feng had saved her because of Qilin Lord Bing Mu's request, he had saved her. End of chapter. Chapter 998. However, the loss was too great, and there was no way to recover from it. Actually, there was a way to help him recover. She was a spirit of heaven and earth, and contained the purest origin energy of heaven and earth. At this moment, the blood in his body had changed, and his level of life had increased by another level. The Snow Empress was not sure what it was exactly. If they were like each other, this human should be able to recover. However, the Snow Empress could not make a choice. She suddenly remembered the gaze she had when she woke up that day. That pair of eyes that were as black as the night. The rapid heartbeat caused by the blood connection made her feel as if she was looking at the sea of stars at that moment. She was struggling in her heart. Probably, the Snow Empress pondered. It will take at least a few months. Just as she finished speaking, Wang Feng suddenly opened his eyes and exhaled heavily. He let out a long cry. I've finally recovered. Wang Feng felt the spiritual crystal in his body and smiled faintly. To be precise, he had not fully recovered. However, most of the blood that he had lost had been recovered. One had to admit that the esoteric word was indeed powerful. Being reborn from a drop of blood might be the most abnormal kind, and Wang Feng was far from being able to do it now. However, even though he only had half of the esoteric word, Wang Feng had already cultivated it to a certain level. Most importantly, his spiritual power had taken the last step. This was very crucial. At this moment in his sea of consciousness, Wang Feng's spiritual power had turned into a true rhombus crystal, and it would slowly become round. Emitting a majestic spiritual power, the green lotus stood on top of this crystal and emitted a bright green light. It seemed to be nurturing some life. Soul crystal, the product of spiritual power reaching the limit. What kind of feeling did this spiritual power have? Wang Feng did not know. However, as long as Wang Feng used his spiritual power to probe, the surrounding heaven and earth seemed to be under his control. This feeling was extremely wonderful. However, the loss of blood was still a result of the loss. One had to know that this loss would damage the foundation even if it was recovered. However, Wang Feng's foundation was extremely strong, and his potential was huge. If it did not work out, he could just consume some treasures that could replenish the foundation. There were many in the Nature Manifestation Valley. Overall, Wang Feng did not lose much. His greatest gain was that his mind power had reached a brand new level. If it was shown, Wang Feng could defeat a demigod expert with the Xianming flying sword. The flying sword could even be controlled to kill enemies 10,000 meters away. This was already a technique that was close to that of an immortal cultivator. Even a deity might be able to do it. However, its power was definitely not as strong as Wang Feng's scarlet-green flying sword. Moreover, this was only the strength of the flying sword. As a matter of fact, the increase in the flying sword's power was probably the most insignificant effect on Wang Feng's mind power. Wang Feng wasn't sure if his spiritual power would increase any further. It was possible that the increase of his spiritual power would be extremely slow, entering a stage that required a long period of nurturing. At the very least, this time was measured in years. However, at this moment, the Ice Emperor looked at Wang Feng in astonishment and said softly, "Sister, didn't you say that he would need at least a few months to wake up?" The Snow Empress fell silent. This human was really too amazing. It seemed that she could not use common sense to deduce it. However, she was no longer using common sense to deduce it. Wang Feng sensed for a moment before looking at the Snow Empress and the Ice Emperor. Wang Feng didn't feel awkward when he looked at the Snow Empress after his spiritual power had increased. Instead, he was very calm. "The two of you, I have to take my leave." Wang Feng calculated the time, and realized that there were only 3 to 4 months left. He needed to train for a while to activate his body's potential. After being cleansed twice by the chaotic divine light, there was still a lot of potential that had yet to be unleashed. Without mentioning anything else, Wang Feng estimated that he could easily break 500 kilograms with a casual punch as long as he activated his body's potential. He might even be able to reach an even higher level. After absorbing the Ice Emperor's soul ring, Wang Feng's physique had been strengthened. However, the most important thing was that the chaotic divine light had greatly increased his body's potential. After Wang Feng finished speaking, he was about to leave. Wait. Seeing this, the Snow Empress hurriedly spoke. However, she stopped just as she opened her mouth. That was because she didn't know what to say. However, she felt a little weird when she saw him leave just like that. Wang Feng turned around and looked at the Snow Empress. He was puzzled as he asked, "Is there anything else?" Seeing that Wang Feng was acting as if nothing had happened, he was shocked. The Snow Empress suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. She frowned and said, "The extreme north. It seems like there are still some soul beasts that have been poisoned by the blood soul poison. The Azure Emperor has found them over the past few days and gathered them together. We can't deal with them. Do you want to?" The Ice Emperor was puzzled as she looked at her elder sister. "Is there such a thing? Why haven't I heard of it before? However, it seems like it's possible." That's because Wang Feng had absorbed the blood soul poison in the ice river that day. However, some soul beasts had mistakenly drunk the water in the ice river or soaked in the ice river. However, it wasn't serious, so they didn't join the army of soul beasts. Wang Feng looked at the Snow Empress and thought for a while. That's true. How could I forget about this? However, this Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor also has the ability to purify the blood soul poison. The last time I cured her of the blood soul origin poison, her ability should have been strengthened after I helped her get rid of it. You can bring those soul beasts here, and the side effects of the blood soul poison should be resolved. I don't think I need to do anything. The Snow Empress opened her mouth slightly when she heard this. She didn't know what to say. At this moment, the Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor suddenly spoke. "Human, I'm sorry. My ability seems to have disappeared temporarily. Why don't you stay here for a few days?" The Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor's voice sounded like a kind old granny. There was a sense of vicissitudes. Wang Feng was stunned. Disappeared temporarily? The Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor's ability can disappear? Granny Tree. The Ice Emperor opened his mouth and looked at the Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor. The Snow Empress blushed a little before she regained her composure. "All right then." Wang Feng thought for a while. "I'll use the Golden Lotus to help you recover your ability. It's best if you can improve it. You'll be able to deal with the blood soul poison if you encounter it again." The Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor was speechless. The Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor shook its leaves and said, "Thank you. I'll go down and find a place." Wang Feng looked at the Snow Empress and seemed to understand something. "You can stay here." The Snow Empress suddenly spoke. "Elder sister, you." The Ice Emperor looked at the Snow Empress in disbelief. "Hasn't this human already recovered? Why is Elder Sister still staying here? This ice bed of mine is made from a piece of 1,000-year ice essence. It's very helpful for recovery and strength." The Snow Empress said calmly, "Furthermore, I've been feeling a little strange recently. This might be related to your blood. I want to ask about the situation." End of chapter. Chapter 999. Wang Feng pondered for a few seconds before nodding. As a result, Wang Feng stayed at the top of the Spiritual Jade Tree Emperor. The Ice Emperor was speechless. Not only did Elder Sister want to keep this human here, she even wanted to give him the ice bed that she used to rest and train on? "Don't tell me, Elder Sister." The Ice Emperor thought of a terrifying possibility. "Impossible. That's impossible." The Ice Emperor looked at the Snow Empress and said angrily, "Elder Sister, you. I won't agree." After she finished speaking, the Ice Emperor quickly ran down the Spiritual Jade Tree Emperor. The Snow Empress was speechless. Wang Feng was also speechless. There was one less scorpion. Wang Feng suddenly felt like he had returned to the awkward and weird atmosphere when he first rescued the Snow Empress. "Human, I still don't know, what's your name?" The Snow Empress tilted her head slightly and asked softly. "I'm Wang Feng," Wang Feng replied. "Isn't your title Doctor of Soul Beasts?" The Snow Empress asked curiously. Wang Feng coughed a few times. So the Snow Empress had heard of this title. Qing Qing must have told the Snow Empress everything except for her own situation. This is just a nickname, Wang Feng explained. What does this nickname mean? The Snow Empress asked again. She was like a curious baby. Wang Feng was a little surprised. He had so many nicknames and identities, but no one knew what these nicknames and identities meant. Oh! Wang Feng walked to one side and was about to sit down. The Snow Empress pointed to the ice bed in the distance. Sit on it. Wang Feng was stunned, but he still sat down. This ice bed was quite big. It was about 4 to 5 meters long and wide. If it could even fit Qing Qing, it couldn't be small. The Millennium Ice Pith was indeed extraordinary. Wang Feng could feel an abundant ice-type energy just by standing beside it. After sitting on it, his soul power started to circulate rapidly. However, the cold air was very strong. Normal soul masters couldn't even get close to it, let alone sit on it. The Snow Empress also walked onto the ice bed. She curled up her legs elegantly and placed her hand on one side of her thigh. Her crystal-like eyes looked at Wang Feng, as if she wanted to hear what Wang Feng had to say. The meaning? Wang Feng thought for a moment. I've heard of a story. It's about a human who lost his hands. After going through untold hardships to obtain extraordinary powers, he defeated the evil forces and was determined to protect the world's peace. This human was called Dr. Strange. Strange represented extraordinary power. I'm just casually using it, that's why I'm called Dr. Soul Beast. Oh! The Snow Empress was stunned. Although he hadn't heard the story in detail, Wang Feng's summary, feel free to use it. The Snow Empress used her hand to draw circles on the ice bed. Why do I feel that it fits your story? You possess extraordinary strength, defeated the evil forces, and protected the peace of the extreme north and humans. Fundamentally speaking, the soul beasts of the extreme north should be grateful to you. Hearing this, Wang Feng was taken aback. He pondered for a moment before replying, Sigh, now that you mention it, it does seem to be the case. The Snow Empress suddenly laughed when she saw Wang Feng's stunned expression. She smiled gently, but it was so beautiful that it seemed to be able to melt this ice bed made of thousands of years of ice essence. Wang Feng took a few glances. This lady's looks aren't inferior to mine. Wang Fengxin said. The power of this smile isn't inferior to mine at all. It's a pity that humans and soul beasts can't live in peace. The Snow Empress retracted her smile when she saw Wang Feng looking at her. She sighed softly. Even without those evil soul masters, soul beasts like us wouldn't be able to reach a higher level. We could only transform into humans and cultivate from scratch. Otherwise, we can only become soul rings for humans. Wang Feng nodded. This was the only way to increase one's strength in the Douluo world. Naturally, soul beasts were always the ones being hunted. It was a little deformed. Furthermore, as time passed, the conflict between humans and soul beasts would become more and more intense. Soul beasts would eventually diminish. Thinking of this, Wang Feng thought of spirit. But even spirits had to consume soul beasts. Dr. Strange is determined to protect the world's peace, but no one can protect the world's peace. The Snow Empress shook her head gently. Wang Feng was silent. He suddenly thought, since he came to this world, shouldn't he leave behind something that truly belonged to him? A person's words carried little weight, and a person's strength was weak. A person who was weak naturally didn't need to consider these. But Wang Feng felt that he was strong enough now. Perhaps he should leave behind something that truly belonged to him in the Douluo world? Wang Fengxin's mind suddenly changed. The soul crystal in his sea of consciousness let out a soft cry. A mysterious power seemed to have awakened from this soul crystal and was throbbing. He was shocked. He only had this thought, but why did he feel like he had triggered something? Thinking of this, Wang Feng suddenly recalled his journey. Although it wasn't smooth sailing with all kinds of cheats, he managed to make it through. There were a few times when he was surrounded by danger. He pretended to be strong and unknowingly flirted with many big and beautiful girls. He had become more handsome, and he had become more powerful. But was it enough? Of course it's enough. As long as I continue like this and continue to become stronger. Wang Fengxian's heart skipped a beat. Please don't have any strange thoughts. That's unrealistic. I just need to become stronger. Who knows, I might even go to other worlds. Even if I don't go, I can just slowly cultivate to become a god. Although it will take a long time for me to reach every level. But Wang Feng saw the helplessness and sadness in the Snow Empress' eyes. He thought of all these and thought of Qing Qing and the 7 fellows. I should still do something. Wang Feng suddenly woke up. No, it's not impossible. After thinking for a while, Wang Feng said with certainty, although the world won't always be peaceful, it's not impossible for humans and soul beasts to be peaceful. Hearing this, the Snow Empress was silent for a moment. She said coldly, it's impossible. Humans need soul rings to increase their strength, so they will definitely hunt soul beasts. But we soul beasts can only increase our strength through our own cultivation. It's just a dowry for humans. Humans and soul beasts won't be peaceful. We soul beasts will only become fewer and fewer, until we're on the verge of extinction. Maybe. The Snow Empress also stood up. Her tone was filled with helplessness and unwillingness. Until one day, when I reach the limit of my cultivation and can't withstand the heavenly tribulation, I will become someone else's soul ring. Or maybe I'll revert to human form, lose all my memories, and start from scratch. Then, I'll be discovered by humans, killed, and turned into a soul ring. As she spoke, the Snow Empress looked straight at Wang Feng. The Snow Empress' own prediction was quite accurate. In fact, many intelligent soul beasts probably had such helpless thoughts in their hearts, right? I won't let such a thing happen. Wang Feng took a few steps forward and subconsciously said. The Snow Empress was stunned. She looked at Wang Feng, and there was a hint of embarrassment in her eyes. There was a strange feeling in her heart. It was very comfortable. Finally, the Snow Empress said softly, I believe in you, Professor of Soul Beasts. After speaking, the Snow Empress hesitated for a while. She walked over and gently held Wang Feng's hand. Her beautiful eyes stared at Wang Feng, and there was a hint of special emotions in them. I'll remember your promise to me at this moment. Wang Feng looked at the Snow Empress, who was only a few centimeters away from him. He could feel her slightly cold, jade-like hand. He had a vague feeling that something was wrong. P.S. How many more updates are there tonight? Brother, vote for me. End of this chapter. Chapter 1000. That's not good. Promise? Did I say promise? Wang Feng thought about what he had just said. He wanted to blurt it out. If the Snow Empress really became someone else's soul ring, he couldn't sit back and do nothing. What kind of joke was this? After all, the Snow Empress had half of his essence blood. If she became someone else's soul ring, Wang Feng couldn't bear it. However, the promise that the Snow Empress was talking about also referred to the relationship between humans and soul beasts. Wang Feng faintly thought of 3 words, I've been tricked. However, when she looked at the face that was inches away from her, her crystal-like eyes were filled with hope and joy. Wang Feng opened his mouth, but didn't know what to say. The Snow Empress pursed her lips and looked at Wang Feng in a daze. She wanted to laugh. However, she couldn't help but lean closer to him. A girl's body usually exuded a fiery aura. However, the Snow Empress' body was exuding a faint chill. Wang Feng didn't feel much. He clenched his fist. The Snow Empress' face started to turn red. Wang Feng's hand was burning hot. It wasn't ice cold. The heat passed through his hand and spread from his arm to his heart, spreading throughout his body. She didn't hate it. There was no sun in the polar ice layer of the extreme north. Naturally, there wasn't any heat. She was a fairy, and her body's temperature was much lower than a human's. It was impossible for her to be emotional. However, her bloodline changed after she injected Wang Feng's essence blood. Her body also changed. Just like what the Snow Empress had said, she didn't know. She was an elemental fairy formed from the power of ice. This might not have changed, but he could definitely give her something different. At least, her body's temperature started to rise along with the heat from Wang Feng's hand. Subtly, the Snow Empress felt that Wang Feng's aura was attracting her closer and closer. With the heat from his hand as a catalyst, that aura felt like her heart was being scratched by little Kitty. This was the attraction brought about by their bloodline connection. Wang Feng's mind was very clear. As he looked at the Snow Empress' eyes, he felt that something was wrong. At this moment, a clear voice sounded. "Elder sister, I've thought it through. You can let that human," a clear voice sounded. It was as if Pangu's axe had broken through the chaos and cleared up the world. In that instant, the Snow Empress was like a frightened rabbit. She hurriedly let go of his hand and took a few steps back. She turned her body sideways and took a few deep breaths to force herself to calm down. "What?" The Snow Empress looked at the Ice Emperor calmly. From the fact that the Ice Emperor hadn't said the second half of his sentence, it was obvious. She must have seen everything. The Ice Emperor was in a daze as he stared at the Snow Empress. His topaz eyes were filled with complicated emotions. "How can this be, boo-hoo?" With that, the Ice Emperor ran down again. Wang Feng was speechless. The Ice Emperor was hilarious. She had mentally prepared herself before treating the Snow Empress. But after finding out that it was just her own imagination, she became so sad when she saw that they were just holding hands. Thinking about it, the Ice Emperor probably thought that it was just physical contact. Now that he saw that the Snow Empress was awake, was it because the Snow Empress had fallen in love with him? How could a scorpion have such complicated emotions? After thinking for a while, Wang Feng muttered, "You have my essence blood. I can't let you become someone else's soul ring." "I know you, don't say it." The Snow Empress turned around. "Wang Feng, didn't she want to thank me earlier? Why is she embarrassed now?" Wang Feng thought for a while. "In terms of age, the Snow Empress should be a few thousand times older than me, right? However, I have indeed thought of changing the relationship between humans and soul beasts." Wang Feng continued, "However, this idea is somewhat unrealistic. Once I really do it, I'll be able to control the entire world. If I really do it, I might attract attacks from those who don't want me to change the rules. Perhaps I can only change it when I'm strong enough. This won't be too short." This was Wang Feng's great wish that had just been born. In other words, Wang Feng, this salted fish, finally had a real goal. He didn't want to rely on the system to become his main goal. That could only be Wang Feng's secondary goal. This change wasn't just about spirit. If it were just spirits, there wouldn't be much meaning. He still couldn't change the disappearance of soul beasts. Although Wang Feng hadn't read the later parts of the original work, he had a rough understanding of the settings. There were man-made spirits in the later parts. However, even with man-made spirits, it still couldn't change the fact that there were fewer soul beasts. Although he had this idea, Wang Feng wouldn't change it easily. It was very simple. The gods in the godly realm, especially those who had a deep hatred for soul beasts, they weren't willing to see soul beasts grow. The rules of the Douluo world. Wang Feng thought about it carefully and felt that this world was a large-scale soul beast slaughterhouse. Creating such a world with such rules was to weaken the strength of soul beasts. The gods couldn't casually descend to the lower realm, let alone kill so many soul beasts. Therefore, they created such rules to slowly weaken the strength of soul beasts? Otherwise, why would there be such a deformed rule? From what Wang Feng had seen, no matter what world it was, it couldn't exist unilaterally. One side could kill the other side to increase their strength, while the other side could only cultivate. This was a morbid cultivation rule. Wang Feng didn't think much of the first few soul rings, but especially the million-year soul rings. The stronger he was, the more he thought about it and the more he felt this way. Furthermore, when his underlings were all soul beasts, he felt that this cultivation rule was too sick. However, if he changed it recklessly now, he would be noticed by the gods. If he didn't have the strength and continued to mess around, he was afraid that he would offend the gods and be killed. With Wang Feng's understanding of the gods in this world, the gods were definitely divided by strength. He should only be able to defeat those who had just entered the god rank. No matter what kind of god it was, they had just entered the god rank when they reached rank 100 or above. The gods also needed to cultivate. After making such a wish, Wang Feng felt that his soul crystal core seemed to be dyed with a layer of holy light. As a result, the soul crystal actually started to become round and smooth. There seemed to be some special changes in the unseen world. What great wish did I make? Wang Fengxin thought. At this moment, after hearing Wang Feng's words, the Snow Empress turned around and looked at Wang Feng in a daze. I'm looking forward to that day. The Snow Empress nodded slightly. I'm going into a deep sleep in a few days. I need to freeze myself to absorb the Lin Lord's energy origin and discover the mysteries of my body. This is because I'm not sure whether I'm a soul beast or a human. End of chapter. Chapter 1001. Wang Feng was stunned. He thought about it and agreed. The Snow Empress had used her own blood. Was she a soul beast? He should be considered a human, right? However, as a fairy of heaven and earth, the Snow Empress was formed from pure ice elemental energy apart from her blood. It was also possible to call it a soul beast. Okay. Wang Feng nodded. That's why. I wish to discuss the issue of my blood with you. I hope you can stay a little longer. The Snow Empress lowered her head slightly. To put it simply, he was waiting for me to freeze before he left. All right, Wang Feng said. He was also curious about the Snow Empress' current state. Moreover, it did not mean that he could not train himself in this place. It was still possible. As a result, Wang Feng stayed in this place for the time being. A few days later, the Ice Emperor leaned on the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor in a daze. The Jade Spirit Tree Emperor's leaves were rustling. Compared to the Ice Emperor's sluggishness, the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor seemed quite happy. Up ahead, two silhouettes were engaged in a fierce battle. Granny Tree. Did Big Sister fall in love with that human? The Ice Emperor stared straight ahead. The figures fighting were his sister and that human. Fighting was the best way to tap into one's potential and to explore one's own strength. It was also the most direct and effective method. If Possessi could have been Wang Feng's training partner on the Sea God Island, he wouldn't have needed to spend so much time in the Furious Wave's desperate situation. Wang Feng had become much stronger now, and the Snow Empress was no match for him. However, Wang Feng only needed to seal a portion of his strength. Child, isn't it good that your sister has someone she likes? The Jade Spirit Tree Emperor's benevolent voice sounded. Your sister is a spirit of heaven and earth, and there are almost no soul beasts in the extreme north that are worthy of her. It was also difficult for her to develop feelings. Now that she had obtained that human's blood essence, not only had her strength greatly increased, her bloodline had also undergone a great change. It's perfect for your sister. Besides, if there's such a human who pulled you back from the brink of death, you'll be able to survive. I even gave you a new life. I saved your hometown and saved countless of your people. Even if your sister doesn't like him, she still has a good impression of him. Moreover, this human is not bad. Granny Tree, I'm very supportive. When the Ice Emperor heard this, he fell silent and became a little anxious. But there's a difference between humans and beasts. No, the blood in your sister's body was given by that human. Your sister can't be considered a soul beast. She also has the bloodline of a human. The Jade Spirit Tree Emperor swayed gently. But this person is very fickle. He had several girls who liked him. When the time comes, he will definitely abandon you. The Ice Emperor continued, unwilling to give up. Silly child. The Jade Spirit Tree Emperor chuckled a few times. If he was someone capable of doing such a thing, then he wouldn't have been able to do it. You wouldn't have saved your sister back then, and you wouldn't have jumped into the extreme frost ice lake to absorb the blood soul poison. He won't save me, Grandma Tree. He won't save the thousands of soul beasts either. He wouldn't give your sister that Lin Monarch's origin energy either. Since he could spend so much effort to save your sister, he can't be someone who would abandon her. Your sister must have noticed this, that's why she... The Jade Spirit Tree Emperor's voice rang out. The complexity of human society was much greater than that of the soul beast world. However, the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor had lived for so long, and there were countless soul beasts around her. It wasn't that humans hadn't seen them before, and their experiences were naturally much richer than the Ice Emperor. Impossible, even so, my sister will never like a human. I don't believe it. Moreover, this human might not like my sister. The Ice Emperor still insisted on his belief. The Jade Spirit Tree Emperor swayed its branches gently and didn't answer. At this moment, the battle in the distance was about to end. The Ice Emperor watched. This battle had been going on for a long time. At least 3 days. For the two, because it was a training battle, they were recovering while fighting. She had already used her 3 ultimate techniques countless times. Her soul power recovery couldn't keep up with the consumption, and she was panting from exhaustion. On the other hand, Wang Feng was still very calm. He didn't use much soul power, and he could easily dissolve his sister's strength with just his punches and kicks. Any attack from his sister couldn't threaten him. Too strong, he was so strong that he made soul beasts feel hopeless. Even the rank 99 titled Douluo seemed very weak in front of this human. However, the Ice Emperor could tell that something was wrong. The 3 ultimate techniques were his sister's ultimate technique. Normally, they would consume more soul power when used. Even with his sister's cultivation, she couldn't use them continuously for 3 days. This meant that his sister had become stronger. Or rather, the speed at which she recovered soul power had become faster. At the same time, her ultimate techniques were becoming stronger. Every time she used them, they would become stronger. In the process of this fierce battle, he even created various other moves. That human was feeding his sister moves and cultivating. It looked like an intense fight, but in reality, the Ice Empress could see that her sister was panting with a smile on her face. It was a smile that she had never seen before. His sister had never shown him such a smile before. At this moment, the Snow Empress unleashed a powerful skill. 2 streaks of dazzling icy light shot out from her eyes, and the boundless power of absolute ice was unleashed from her eyes. The surrounding space seemed to have been frozen. The embryonic form of another innate domain was born. Wang Feng's eyes brightened. Furthermore, this domain seemed to contain the characteristics of his blood. It had a powerful recovery effect on his body, and it was endless. His blood wasn't simple. Half of his essence blood contained energy that wasn't much weaker than the origin crystal of the Ice Emperor. Wang Feng hadn't fully recovered until now. It wasn't hard to imagine. He should be able to fully recover before he returned to the continent. Therefore, the Snow Empress' abilities were greatly enhanced. Her cultivation might change as she slowly absorbed more. However, there wasn't an explosive increase. However, the Snow Empress' abilities were greatly enhanced. The simplest example was that her ultimate techniques had become stronger. She consumed less soul power, and her recovery speed had become faster. In addition, she could control her absolute ice power. After 3 days of continuous battle, she slowly awakened a special innate domain. However, it had just awakened, and the Snow Empress couldn't control it properly before it disappeared. As she was exhausted, she fell from mid-air. Wang Feng took a step forward and hugged the Snow Empress before placing her on the ground. Awakening a new innate domain has consumed a lot of soul power. Let's rest for 2 days and try again, Wang Feng said. The Snow Empress didn't sweat because of her special body. However, she was panting right now and her face was red. It was obvious that she was exhausted. Okay. The Snow Empress placed her hand on Wang Feng's shoulder, and her aura changed slightly. You haven't had enough, right? The Snow Empress' brows furrowed. He didn't seem to be exhausted at all after fighting for so long. End of chapter. Chapter 1002. No, I'm quite tired too. Wang Feng shook his head and said, I still have a lot of potential. I've been fighting for 3 days and I've sealed my soul power. It's just that I've experienced more intense battles, so this is naturally helpful to me. I think so. The Snow Empress nodded slightly and suddenly laughed. You have a lot of ice on your body. The Snow Empress patted Wang Feng's shoulder and clothes. Although Wang Feng was able to break her attacks using the power of absolute ice with a single punch, he was unable to dodge the various ice shards that flew up. Wang Feng didn't use his soul power, so he couldn't disperse the ice shards. Wang Feng was stunned when he saw the Snow Empress' actions. The Ice Emperor felt sour when he saw this scene from afar. Child, look. Your sister should like this human. The Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor laughed softly. The Ice Emperor was speechless. I must be dreaming, the Ice Emperor muttered to himself. Although he didn't want to admit it, the Ice Emperor already had a bad feeling when he saw his sister holding hands with this human. His sister's body wasn't just seen by this human. The Ice Emperor couldn't accept that she had even given her heart to this human. Now, this kind of intimate action was even more proof. I have to stop this from happening over the next few days. No, more accurately, over the next 1 or 2 months. Wang Feng had been training with the Snow Empress. When they were tired, they chatted and strolled around the extreme north. When they rested, they meditated on the top floor. Of course, they didn't do anything. Wang Feng had to admit that the Snow Empress was a pretty good lady. She was strong, talented, and intelligent. She was noble, elegant, and had a unique figure. She also had a powerful aura. She was a little domineering, and she meant what she said. However, she was gentle. He could also feel it. She also had some cute hobbies. She liked to carve beautiful soul beasts and hang them on the top of the Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor like stars. She would never find cultivation boring. She fought with Wang Feng every day. When she meditated on the ice bed, she liked to listen to Wang Feng tell her stories. In terms of talent in storytelling, Wang Feng was naturally not inferior. With his current memory, as long as he had read in his previous life, even if it was a kindergarten textbook, he could memorize it without missing a word. The most interesting thing was, with Wang Feng's current ability, even if he wanted to present those stories, it's not that hard. Wang Feng could use his mind power to control the Xianming Blood Dragon spike and form a moving picture scroll. He could also control the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor's water droplets to form paintings. The effect wasn't bad at all. The number of frames was comparable to watching a movie. It couldn't be helped. His mental strength was just too strong. As for the story, Wang Feng felt that it would be interesting enough to tell the story of his past. It could even be made into a continuous story. The scenes and content were also presented, and there was no need to modify it, because it had already happened. Under such circumstances, Wang Fengxin's sense of foreboding grew stronger. He could hear the Snow Empress' laughter every day. Her smile was like a blooming flower. Every time he saw the Snow Empress smile, Wang Feng felt like he was trash. Through their interactions, even the Ice Empress could tell that her elder sister truly had feelings for this human. There was a very simple example. That day, Wang Feng temporarily left the extreme ice layer and went to the absolute ice forbidden land. He wanted to see how Ning Rongrong and the rest were doing. The situation wasn't bad. Ning Rongrong had just passed the second test, and was going through the third test with Hu Liena. They were carrying an absolute ice-frozen rock, feeling the power of absolute ice while circling the absolute ice forbidden land. Shui Bing was trying to use the ice god's divine tool. Their improvements were huge. However, Wang Feng secretly watched for half a day, and only left when he felt that the group was fine. It was also that day. The Ice Emperor finally had a chance to be alone with the Snow Empress. He learned from Wang Feng and told the Snow Empress a story, but he didn't see her smile. "Sister, I think my story is quite interesting. Why didn't you smile as happily?" The Ice Emperor lay on the ice bed and asked sadly. "I don't know," the Snow Empress replied. She thought for a long time and said softly, "Maybe, what I want to hear is not the story. I want to hear his voice." After hearing this, the Ice Emperor knew that his sister had really fallen in love with that human. "Sister, have you fallen in love with that human?" The Ice Emperor was silent for a long time. The Snow Empress didn't know how to respond to the question, and her expression was a little shy. After a while, she said calmly, "I don't know." "Then do you know that he went to see the human girl who likes him today? The two girls who are inheriting the ice and water gods," the Ice Emperor said. After thinking for a while, he added, "No, it's three. The Snow Empress, you see. He likes new lovers and hates old ones. He even hooked up with so many girls, and hid it from you." The Ice Emperor saw this and hurriedly said. He hoped that his sister would not like that human. The Snow Empress shook her head and said, "Before he left, he told me. No, more accurately, he told me many of his experiences." The Ice Emperor. How is this possible?" The Ice Emperor was astonished. The Snow Empress suddenly laughed. She seemed to be reminiscing. "Speaking of which, we have been in the extreme north for so long, but I don't feel that his experiences are as rich and exciting as his." "No, wait. Sister, can you bear it?" The Ice Emperor hurriedly changed the topic. "I don't know. I can't bear it." The Snow Empress said, "I admit that I feel very uncomfortable when he talks about those girls." Hearing this, the Ice Emperor was delighted. But then, the Snow Empress continued, "But I feel that it is enough that he is with me now. I have been very happy these days. I have never experienced such emotions before. The absolute ice power in my body is about to spill out. The energy emitted by Lin Jun's origin crystal core, and the energy emitted by his blood, has also erupted during the battles these days. Soon, I will fall into a deep sleep. So." The Ice Emperor looked at his sister and didn't say anything. His sister obviously wouldn't think so much. Just like that, a few months later. At the center of the extreme ice layer. At the top of the spiritual Jade Tree Emperor. The Snow Empress talent domain had been completely awakened. It was named the Absolute Ice Snow Soul Domain by Wang Feng. Today, the Snow Empress was about to freeze and fall into a deep sleep. Wang Feng estimated that it would take many years for the Snow Empress to completely absorb Lin Lord's origin energy. The training over these days was like a key that opened this door. It delayed the time by a little. This deep sleep might take a very long time. 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years were all possible. She might be awakened by the heavenly tribulation. But most of the time, she would be in a deep sleep, cultivating and absorbing. "Wang Feng, thank you. I have been very happy these days." The Snow Empress smiled. Her beautiful smile didn't seem to be tired of looking at it. "You are welcome." Wang Feng waved his hand. "Freeze here. I will watch you." "Okay." The Snow Empress nodded slightly. The Ice Emperor was also watching, but he was extremely silent. Qing Qing was also there. She walked slowly towards the ice bed. When she reached the ice bed, she suddenly turned around and looked at Wang Feng. "Can you come over for a while? I have something to say to you." Wang Feng thought for a while and walked over. "Come closer." The Snow Empress pursed her lips. Wang Feng took 2 more steps forward. The two of them were only half a step apart. The Snow Empress suddenly grabbed Wang Feng's hands and interlocked her fingers. She stood on her tiptoes and suddenly whispered something into Wang Feng's ear. Then, the Snow Empress kissed Wang Feng. It was like a goodbye kiss. It wasn't quick, but it was long and drawn out. That wonderful feeling rippled in the hearts of the two. Soon, the Snow Empress' body trembled slightly. Her lips were red, and her eyes were hazy. Her face was slightly red, and there was a hint of reluctance in her eyes. She let go of his hands and walked towards the ice bed. In an instant, the power of absolute ice was released, and countless layers of ice appeared around the Snow Empress. She was like a statue standing on the ice bed. Through the layers of ice, one could see that the Snow Empress' face was still red. Wang Feng was stunned. At the same time, a golden pillar of light shot from the center of the continent into the sky. It seemed to symbolize the arrival of a new era. P.S. Unknowingly, I have already written almost 1,000 chapters. That's fast. 8 chapters today. Let's continue. End of this chapter. Chapter 1003. A month later, Wang Feng left the extreme north. He bade farewell to Qing Qing and the 7 fellows, as well as the Ice Emperor and the Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor. Qing Qing led the 7 fellows and subdued most of the soul beasts in the extreme north over the past few months. They had the momentum of unifying the extreme north. However, the extreme north was very vast. If they wanted to unify it completely, they would have to face many problems. There would be conflicts between soul beasts, generations of hatred, natural enemies, and so on. Unifying the extreme north wasn't as easy as unifying the continent. It had to be known that many species of soul beasts were hostile towards each other. Some of them were natural enemies for generations. Although Wang Feng had been training with the Snow Empress over the past few months, he would ask Qing Qing about her situation sometimes. She had encountered many similar situations. For example, the Ice Jade King Crab had a natural enemy a long time ago. It was called the Dragon Falcon and the Ice Jade King Crab for food. It was also an anomaly in the extreme north. It was the natural enemy of the natural enemies. Later on, the Ice Emperor appeared among the King Crab soul beasts. He had the upper hand against the Dragon Falcon and the Ice Jade King Crab. He chased the Dragon Falcon out of the extreme north. Only the Ice Emperor was able to cultivate to such a level. Other than the Dragon Falcon and the Ice Jade King Crab, there were other types of soul beasts that were enemies. However, they weren't natural enemies. They were only considered opponents. Therefore, there was a certain amount of conflict between soul beasts. Just like the Heaven Do Empire and the Star Luo Empire, there were conflict. Outside the empire, there were conflicts between sections. Above that, there were conflicts in the Martial Soul Hall. If they wanted to unify the extreme north, martial power was necessary. Time was also a necessity. However, Wang Feng believed that Qing Qing would be able to lead the 7 fellows to unify the extreme north many years later. Build a soul beast homeland? At this moment, under the Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor, Qing Qing and the 7 fellows watched Wang Feng leave. The Ice Emperor was also watching. Master left just like that. I'm so lonely. Qing Qing sighed. In the next few months, I can often play with Sister Shui and Master. As soon as she finished speaking, Qing Qing's expression became excited again. However, the next time I see Master, I must unify the extreme north. Lofty aspirations and lofty aspirations. Soaring ambition. Lofty sentiments. It soared into the sky. The Ice Emperor rolled his eyes at Emperor Qing. It was hard to imagine that a girl would say something like that. He's finally gone. The Ice Emperor had a complicated look in his eyes. This human was finally gone. In the past few months, he had been fighting madly with his elder sister. They were either being intimate on the ice bed or touring the extreme north sweetly. They fished by the Arctic ice lake, swam with soul beasts in the Arctic ice river, fought in the rain of the ice armor Jade Spirit Tree, climbed the Arctic ice glacier, and gazed at the other end of the glacier from the highest peak in the Arctic, snowy Maple Mountain, and gazed at the sunset in the distance. Why did the Ice Emperor know so much about it? She followed them from afar every time, especially that snowy Maple Mountain. Oh my God, that mountain didn't have a name at all. It was named after the two of them. What made the Ice Emperor feel the most unbelievable was that it was his elder sister who made this request. His elder sister had completely fallen in love with him. In the past few months, the Ice Emperor could only see his elder sister's peerlessly noble and powerful demeanor when she was fighting. Or when she was in front of other soul beasts, she maintained her cold, noble, and aloof demeanor. But at other times, she was not much different from a human girl who had fallen in love. Fortunately, this human was finally gone now. Although my elder sister was sealed in ice, she was still my woman, the Ice Emperor exclaimed in his heart. It was undeniable that the Ice Emperor still somewhat admired this human. Strength was one thing, charm was another, and ability was another. It could be said that this human was very difficult to dislike. But he couldn't snatch his elder sister away. I feel that it is very dangerous for him to return to human society. At this moment the Ice Emperor snorted and said, "On the day that my elder sister was sealed in ice, a golden pillar of light appeared in the sky of the human world. I can feel that it represents a very terrifying power. I have a feeling that Wang Feng's return to human society is definitely because of the peerless expert represented by this pillar of light." The Ice Emperor looked at Qingqing and said, "You should hope that your master is fine." Qingqing flapped her wings and said, "Ice, you are a scorpion, not a crow. Why are you cursing my master for no reason? If something really happens to my master, I will lead my soul beast army to the human empire." "Qingqing, I support you," Odontasuchus howled. "I have always recorded Boss's legend. I also believe that no matter how strong the enemy is, Boss can easily defeat them. If something really happens to Boss, we will rush out of the extreme north." The rest of the group also echoed his sentiment. The Ice Emperor shook his head. No matter what, this human's prestige among these soul beasts was really unimaginable. Looking at the Lotus Emperor alone, the Ice Emperor realized that the Lotus Emperor was also a little worried. He couldn't help but think to himself, it seems like the Lotus Emperor is also worried. He also felt that terrifying power. It wasn't just the soul beast. When that golden pillar of light appeared, even titled Douluo soul masters could feel a mysterious power descending on this continent. It had been countless years since anyone had crossed rank 100. It seemed that, at that moment in the center of the continent, someone had crossed over. Countless years had passed, and this continent had welcomed a true God-ranked expert. Perhaps to ordinary people it was just a phenomenon from the heavens. However, to the Martial Soul Alliance, this truly represented the arrival of a new era. Above rank 99, it was a world ruled by true God-ranked experts. Wang Feng naturally sensed it. That golden pillar of light. It symbolized a grand, holy, and bright power. The entire sky seemed to be painted with a layer of golden light. Apart from the angel god, there wouldn't be any other gods. To be able to cause such a huge commotion, it probably had something to do with the large number of people in the Martial Soul Hall and their strong faith. Over the past few months, Wang Feng's abilities had reached a limit after training. The potential of his chaotic divine light had also been fully developed. As expected, a casual punch from him was more than 500,000 kilograms. Once he unleashed his full strength, whether it was Qian Renshua or Bibidon, he could win 99% of the time. Of course, Bibidon might be a little more troublesome, but it wasn't too difficult. Over the past few months, Wang Feng had been very comfortable. Although it wasn't like he had never interacted with a girl for such a long time. This kind of half-cohabitation was a little strange. There was no such thing as a beauty's hometown or a hero's grave. When the Snow Empress fought, she was very serious. She wasn't gentle in this aspect. Even her ice cultivation was very decisive. She didn't procrastinate at all. After the Snow Empress was frozen, Wang Feng stayed for a few more days and instructed Qing Qing on some things. He also checked on Ning Rongrong and the rest. After everything was fine, only then did he return to the Martial Soul Alliance. Less than 4 months had passed since the elimination of the evil Soul Masters. But when Wang Feng returned, he realized that the continent had changed a lot. The two empires and the Martial Soul Alliance had basically merged. End of chapter. Chapter 1004. Even though an official government had not been established yet. But whether it was Soul Masters or the various professions, the barriers had been reduced a lot. The best example was that the various academies and sects had absorbed more Soul Masters, and the range of acceptance had widened. For example, the royal academies of the two empires only accepted the descendants of nobles in the past. But now they accepted commoners, and even young Soul Masters from different empires. The Imperial Star Luo Academy had young Soul Masters from the Heaven Do Empire, and vice versa. There were also students from the two empires in the Martial Soul Academy, founded by the Martial Soul Alliance. There was a glimmer of hope. Although it was still a short period of time, as time passed, Wang Feng felt that after this war, the continent should be able to reach true prosperity. At that time, he could also start to change the relationship between soul beasts and humans. He could try to add new elements to the martial soul system. It was a start. On the way back, Wang Feng thought about a lot of things and heard a lot. Tang San and the others went to see God Island again. They should be back soon. This time, Tang San should be back to inherit the position of the sea god. As for whether there would be any changes, Wang Feng guessed that it was unlikely. Tang Chen, the king of massacre, should be on Sea God Island now, right? He didn't know if Possessi and Tang Chen would die, because Tang San inherited the deity position. But even if they died, with Little Three's deity position in the future, it shouldn't be difficult to save them. Thinking of this, Wang Feng suddenly wondered if old Master Qian Dalu would die. When he left the Douluo palace, Qian Dalu seemed to be on the verge of death. Before he came out, Wang Feng used the golden lotus to restore the old man. This old man could be considered to have lived a carefree life. For the Martial Soul Palace, or more accurately, for the Angel God. What worried Wang Feng the most now was why there was still no news from Bibidon. She should have been inheriting the deity position since she left the Great Star Do Forest. The baptism brought by the chaotic divine light definitely increased Bibidon's deity position potential. But it shouldn't be that long, right? It had already been more than half a year. Not to mention, it was a little Wang Feng couldn't enter the Rakshasa secret realm alone. However, it was good that she hadn't come out yet. Wang Feng decided to make a trip to Martial Spirit City to deal with the Qian Rinxue situation first. Stagger the time. Perfect. Several months ago, on the Sea God's Island, in the center of the Sea God Palace, Tang San walked into the deepest part of the Sea God Palace. The 200-meter-tall giant door slowly opened. This was the most sacred palace on the Sea God's Island. It was also Tang San's final assessment place. He needed to accept the inheritance of the Sea God. Facing the unknown power, Tang San was very calm. No, to be precise, the excitement in his heart was not enough to move him. It was clear in his heart. After arriving at the Sea God's Island, he managed to kill the million-year soul beast with the help of the other monsters. Without Rongrong, his support ability was greatly reduced. Fortunately, Shen Lingqi could somewhat replace Ning Rongrong's role. The most important thing was that, at the last moment, his killing god domain suddenly evolved and had a power beyond what he could bear. It slightly suppressed the deep-sea demon whale, allowing him to kill it. He even used the Tang Sect's #1 hidden weapon technique, Guanin's Tear, to successfully kill it and pass the 8th test. The other people who helped him pass the 8th test also became titled Douluo. At this point, Tang San arrived at the 9th test. He passed the Sea God's test and inherited the power of the Sea God. Originally, he had another choice. When he arrived at the Sea God's island, Tang Chen passed away unexpectedly. This made Tang San extremely sad. He thought that after Tang Chen left and came to the Sea God's island, he would live together with senior possessees smoothly. He didn't expect that he would pass away just a few days after arriving at the Sea God's island. He left behind a sword. The Azura sword. It was also related to the inheritance of another deity position. At the same time, according to Tang Chen's memories, the Azura god's deity position was higher than the Sea God, Angel God, and Water God. But the higher it was, the more difficult it was to inherit it. Although he had the qualifications to inherit it, he didn't even inherit the Sea God's deity position well. So, Tang San thought that perhaps Brother Feng should be able to inherit the Azura deity position? His great-grandfather's last wish was to inherit the Azura deity position, so he left behind this Azura sword. If he didn't inherit it, it shouldn't be a problem for Brother Feng to inherit it. Moreover, Brother Feng was also in Massacre City back then. They walked through Hell Road together and obtained the Massacre Domain. This meant that Brother Feng also had the qualifications to inherit it. With this consideration, Tang San planned to focus on inheriting the Sea God's deity position first. He walked through the door. A vast amount of energy came crashing down on him. The power of the sea. Limitless, endless and unending. This kind of pressure made people feel as if they were just a speck of dust in this world, not worth mentioning. When Brother Feng trapped the evil soul master back then, he had a similar feeling. Vast and boundless, invincible. Tang San's heart trembled. Brother Feng's soul power level should only be at rank 92. But to be able to give him such a feeling at that time, it meant that Brother Feng's strength was probably not much different from a god. Facing this kind of pressure, Tang San was fearless and walked straight in. In the center of the hall there were 36 pillars, and in the middle was a 300-meter-wide passage. At the end, only a figure stood there. Seeing this figure, Tang San was slightly stunned. Because all the power was emitted by this figure. Sea God. Because of the appearance of the Sea God's shadow, Tang San was no stranger to the appearance of the Sea God. But at this moment it was even clearer. He was wearing golden armor and had a 3-pronged circlet on his head. When he sensed Tang San, he immediately turned around. A dignified face was revealed. He wasn't very handsome, but he gave people an irresistible feeling, causing Tang San's soul to be under great pressure. "It's real," Tang San murmured. "Different from the Sea God's shadow." At this moment, the Sea God seemed to be real. "Greetings, Lord Sea God." Tang San walked over and said respectfully. But his eyes were incomparably calm. He was respectful because the Sea God had helped him before. Not only did he choose him, but he also helped him. The most important time was in the Great Star Do Forest. He taught him the first 3 moves of the Golden Trident. This gratitude came from the bottom of his heart. He was calm because he just found out that the last inheritance would be opened and he would enter the most sacred Sea God Hall. Senior Possessee sacrificed himself because of this. Although he had guessed that it would happen, Tang San felt helpless and angry when it really happened. God. Why did God's test require human sacrifices? Was this a God's test? Why was this more like a demon's temptation? Because of this, Tang San felt very uncomfortable in his heart. End of chapter. Chapter 1005. Although you are respectful to me, you are only grateful that I chose you and helped you. But deep down, you are angry and dissatisfied. The Sea God seemed to see through Tang San's heart at a glance and said indifferently. Tang San was silent. The Sea God was indeed different. He hid it very well, but the Sea God still saw through him. I don't dare. You saved my life, so I won't be angry or dissatisfied with you. Tang San shook his head and said, but Possessi has guarded the sea god's island for so many years and has never left. It can be said that she has dedicated her entire life to you, sea god. You were also a human back then. You also know how much perseverance it takes. I won't judge the rules of the sea god. If I inherit the position of the sea god, I will never set such a rule. This was considered a rebuttal. Ha ha ha! However, the sea god laughed out loud. Tang San was stunned. The reason why he was stunned was because he felt that the sea god's laughter carried a hint of helplessness and self-mockery. Child, you are still too young. The sea god laughed. Do you really think that it was my rule that caused her to sacrifice herself and open this path for you? She believes in me, but in fact, I didn't set the rule that she must die before she can enter here. She really sacrificed herself not for you, but for her lover. The sea god walked over, looked to the other side and sighed, You have a lover in your heart. Let me ask you, if she dies, will you live in this world alone? Tang San was shocked when he heard this. He knew about Possessi's past relationship with his great-grandfather. Otherwise, his great-grandfather wouldn't have gone to the sea god's island as soon as he recovered. Yes, if Xiao Wu really died, would he live in this world alone? Or, if he died, would Xiao Wu live alone? It seems that you already have the answer in your heart. The sea god continued, Let me tell you again. The world we are in, the Douluo world, is just a small world. Here, after an ordinary human dies, their soul will disappear. But the stronger the soul master, the longer their soul will be preserved. This is also the reason why your 2 soul rings still contain those 2 soul beasts. And these preserved souls, under normal circumstances, have the opportunity to enter another world. The prerequisite is that we need God's guidance. This world is the soul world of gods after they die. It's called the God world. At this point, the sea god turned around slightly and looked up at the sky. Her lover died, but her lover left behind the Azura sword, allowing the Azura god's power to be inherited. The Azura god then guided her lover into that world. He would be able to achieve true immortality, and his soul would live forever. After Possessi died, I guided her to that world, with the soul of her lover forever. The ability to grant immortality. As long as we don't reincarnate, we will be together forever. The sea god stopped talking for the time being. Tang San was dumbfounded when he heard this. Was this true? Was it really that magical? How trustworthy was the sea god's words? Tang San did not know. Perhaps he would only be able to confirm the authenticity of these things after he became a god. But now Tang San could only choose to believe. Because this was indeed the best result. Actually, God is just a realm after a soul master cultivates to a certain extent. I believe you have some guesses in your heart. The sea god sighed and said, The life of us gods is limited, but the soul in the god world is infinite. We can only choose to reincarnate. If we don't reincarnate, we will not die. We gods are actually very bored. If we have a companion in the god world, it doesn't matter even if we become a soul. Moreover, it's very difficult for us gods to become partners. There are also strong and weak gods. The god world is just a more complicated world than the human world. It's even more dangerous. If you want to find a partner in this world, I'm afraid you have to start cultivating from a human. Tang San, was it that scary? So, child, I envy you very much. The sea god said with a smile, You have a partner, and your partner's aptitude is not low. She will grow with you, and in the end, you might enter the god world together. This partner of yours is someone you have known since you were young. Possessi is the same. Unlike me, I was too strong back then. I became a god too quickly. There was not a single partner who could accompany me to become a god. After the god world, I will be alone. Tang San, you used 1,000 years to integrate the sea back then. In 1,000 years, none of your partners became a god? Are you kidding me? Moreover, if it really doesn't work, can't you give them special treatment? Help your friends become gods too? Tang San thought to himself. I know what you're thinking, but you don't understand. It was too difficult to become a god back then. The sea god shook her head. You are now inheriting the god position. At that time, we became gods ourselves, but there was no god position for you to inherit. Even if your talent is shocking, without certain opportunities, you can't become a god. I believe you should have heard of the angel god, the water god, and so on. How did they become gods? Tang San felt that this was true. That era was too ancient. It was the most difficult to become a god. I will help her become a god, Tang San said in a low voice. The sea god's bitter words contained a lot of information. The god realm didn't seem to be a land of idyllic bliss. However, it represented a higher level of power. Tang San naturally would not give up on this path. Hearing this, the sea god nodded slightly and continued, With this heart, I believe you should be able to pass the 8 parts of the test. The last part of the inheritance test, the heart, is the most important. Cough cough. Well, get ready to accept the test. You have the protection of the sea god's heart. This test is not difficult. However, you must remember not to use the power of the clear sky hammer carelessly. Because when you killed the little whale, the slaughter domain evolved and merged with the power of the clear sky hammer. That is the divine power of the Azura god. Once you use it, it will affect the test. Tang San nodded. Suddenly, he took out a sword and asked, Lord Sea God, I want to ask if I can give this Azura sword to someone else. Let him inherit the god position? Hearing this, the sea god was stunned. Who do you want to give it to? A close friend of mine. His name is Wang Feng. Lord Sea God, you should know him, Tang San said. His strength and talent are stronger than mine, so I want to give this to him. There should be no problem, right? If the person in front of him was the Azura god, Tang San naturally would not ask. However, since it was the sea god, it was not a problem to ask. However, after hearing this, the sea god's face suddenly became gloomy. He opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but suddenly shouted, Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and inherit the inheritance. Don't worry about other things. The god position is more important. End of chapter. Chapter 1006. At this point, the sea god stopped talking. In the next moment, his entire body shone with a blue light. A golden light that resembled a vortex burst out of his eyes and directly sucked Tang San in. His figure began to disappear. In an instant, he disappeared. He was even somewhat confused. What was going on? Why did the sea god suddenly change his expression? The sea god's expression was slightly heavy. You must not do this, the sea god muttered in his heart. Right at this moment, an ice-cold voice sounded from outside. Sea god, you violated the rules. It's one thing for you to privately descend to the mortal world to meet your successor. Do you know that you've also violated the rules of the Divine Realms Committee? This ice-cold voice seemed to contain endless killing intent. The enormous killing intent confronted the pressure formed by the sea god. However, it instantly suppressed the latter. Outside the great hall, a figure slowly walked in. His expression was cold and he wore blood-red armor. In just a few steps, he arrived in front of the sea god. The great hall trembled. Violate my ass! The sea god looked at the man before him. The divine realm has a rule that states that gods cannot descend to the mortal world. However, my successor is too outstanding. His affinity with the sea god exceeds 120%. According to the rules, I am qualified to guide him if his affinity exceeds 120%. After saying that, the sea god glanced at the Azura deity proudly. I know that you want to come and snatch my successor away. However you wish. When he inherits my divine position, you can only watch helplessly. Humph. The Azura deity coldly glanced at the sea god. Naturally, I know about that rule. When I said violate it, I meant you violated the previous order. According to the rules of the Divine Realms Committee, you did not add or remove a new requirement for the gods with divine positions in the mortal world. Hearing this, the sea god's expression changed. Not only that, you even secretly hinted to him. Do you know that this is against the will of the divine realm? If he discovers it, can you bear the consequences? The Azura deity sternly reprimanded. He will be stripped of his divine position, exiled, and obliterated. However, the sea god's expression was indifferent. What requirement? What hint? I don't know. I've already made the rules. The man in front of him was one of the 3 enforcers of the firmament, one of the 5 members of the Firmament Council. In the divine realm, the committee was above everything else. They were the ones who decided the various rules of the divine realm and made decisions on important matters. Among them, there were 2 godly kings and 3 enforcers. Any decision would require at least 4 votes to pass. However, if the 3 law enforcement officers all agreed, even if there were only 3 votes, it would still pass. These 5 committee members were the 5 great supremes of the divine world. However, the sea god was not afraid of the Azura god. Although he was not a god king, he was very powerful. He was more powerful than many sovereigns. *T. When Tang San asked you just now, you told him not to meddle in other people's business. That's against the rules. God Azura coldly said, not long ago, the Deity Realms Committee passed the decision with 4 votes. He couldn't leave that human alive. Long Xie should have been dead, but he was still alive. If he were to ascend to godhood, then the appearance of Long Xie in the divine realm would definitely awaken the Golden Dragon King and grant it even greater power. Otherwise, the god realm will suffer a great calamity. The evil dragon is one of the dragon god's essences. It was once the dragon god's first evil thought. He can't be allowed to live in this world. Dragon god, have you forgotten about that part of history? How many gods died in that war? The sea god suddenly fell silent. After thinking for a long time, the sea god slowly said, "This human isn't simple. He's fated to be with me. If the sea god's island didn't have him, cut the crap. He's fated to be with me. Speaking of which, Tang San went through my path to hell before coming to your sea god's island. I don't even want to say anything about you snatching him from me." The sea god was speechless. "It's just a soul ring." The sea god frowned slightly. "I know many sovereigns in the divine world think highly of this kid. Find an opportunity to strip him of his soul ring and kill Long Xie." "Ha ha!" The Azura god sneered. "Sea god, are you really stupid or are you faking it? Those sovereigns don't understand why the Deity Realms Committee passed this decision, but don't you? Long Xie is just the fuse that ignites the fire on the surface. It's his martial soul. His martial soul has seriously threatened the laws of this world. Even if he doesn't become a god, he'll still change the laws of this world. More importantly, his other martial soul has seriously affected the laws of the divine world. Sea god, do you really not know what kind of power that is?" But the Azura god's tone changed slightly. "He's a traitor to the Deity Realms Committee. He's also a traitor to the divine world. His power clearly disappeared long ago, but it's reappeared in this human's body. Once he becomes a god, with this human's potential, can you imagine what kind of disaster the divine world will face? Even if you didn't experience the darkest era of the divine world, as a sovereign, you should know about it, right? That's an era more serious than the one the dragon god brought. Most importantly, not only did this human inherit his power, but he's also become stronger and more compatible with it. He hasn't added a soul ring to his martial soul yet. Once he does, his power will truly awaken. Whether it's the laws of this world or the divine world, they'll all be trampled on." The sea god fell silent. After a long time, he sighed. I advise you to tell Tang San about this after he inherits the position of god, the Azura god said. The other gods have already convinced their successors to kill him. Otherwise, these successors will end up in an even more miserable state. The laws of this world can't be changed. The laws of the divine world can't be changed either. That's all I have to say. With that, the Azura god turned and left. The sea god couldn't help but ask, Azura god, you should also think highly of this human, right? Why did you agree to this decision? Although he betrayed the divine world back then, it doesn't mean this child will follow in his footsteps. Power was something that depended on who was using it. Only an old antique like the god of destruction would still hold on to this. Don't tell me you. The Azura god shook his head and interrupted. See god, you're too naive. It's because of your naivety that he caused chaos in the divine world back then. Did you know? A god king back then also had the same idea and chose to believe him. What happened in the end? The sea god fell silent again. There are too many reasons why this human shouldn't be allowed to continue living. Let Tang San inherit the position of god as soon as possible. Tell him these things. I've thought of another way to let him inherit the Azura sword. When the time comes, we'll gather the power of 2 gods and complete this decision. He'll die without a doubt. P.S. 3 more chapters, end of this chapter. Chapter 1007. When Wang Feng arrived at Martial Spirit City, he realized that this city had really changed greatly. However, just as Wang Feng stepped into Martial Spirit City, in the distance, a blue pillar of light shot up into the sky. Martial Spirit City, which was located in the center of the continent, was very far from the coast, but Wang Feng could see it clearly now. It wasn't just Wang Feng. At this moment, everyone in Martial Spirit City was looking into the distance. A few days ago, a similar light appeared in their Martial Spirit City. After this light, even the energy in Martial Spirit City became much more abundant. Who would have thought that such a situation would happen again? Little 3 has become a god? Wang Feng smiled slightly. Little 3 who had become a god should be more powerful, right? That blue pillar of light could only mean that Little 3 had also become a sea god. And in comparison, this pillar of light was slightly more powerful than Qianrenshue's. Unknowingly, even Little 3 had become a god. Wang Fengxin muttered a few times. Then, he walked to the Elder's Hall on the other side. Qianrenshue had become a god, so he was naturally in the Elder's Hall. To be precise, the moment Wang Feng stepped into Martial Spirit City, he was locked on by a spiritual power. The moment he was locked on by this spiritual power, Wang Feng's spiritual power involuntarily spread out. It enveloped the entire city. With the strength of Wang Feng's current spiritual power, not to mention 1 Martial Spirit City, Wang Feng could even sense 3 Martial Spirit Cities clearly. Usually, Wang Feng wouldn't use his spiritual power to sense, because it was very troublesome. The feeling of the entire city being exposed in his mind, and countless information surging in, was very troublesome. The current Martial Spirit City was so huge, and the flow of people was so large. Many things were happening all the time. Who would want to know about these things when they had nothing better to do? Once he released his spiritual power, Wang Feng could even clearly sense the men and women who were having sex in the hotel. Wasn't this annoying? However, at this moment, he naturally sensed Qianrenshue's spiritual power. Wang Feng frowned slightly. When he walked to the foot of the Douluo Palace, he suddenly met a group of titled Dalu. The golden alligator Douluo was in the lead. They formed a circle and stood in front. It seemed that he had been waiting for a while. His Holiness Pope Diff. The golden alligator Douluo's face was solemn, and he also had a respectful look on his face. Wang Feng nodded. He was still wearing his white robe and white mask. He didn't hide his identity. What are you doing here? Wang Feng asked. Did Little Snow ask you to come down? Hearing this, The golden alligator Douluo lowered his voice and said, "Young mistress wants us to wait for Lord Popediff here." "Oh, are you here to welcome me?" Wang Feng was surprised. "That's great. Bring me up. I have an agreement with Xiao Shui, and now is the time to fulfill it." However, the golden alligator Douluo laughed bitterly. "Young miss had us come down, not to welcome His Majesty Popediff, but to obstruct His Majesty Popediff. From the moment you stepped into Martial Spirit City, young miss knew that you had returned. We are here to tell you that the agreement is null and void. Lord Popediff doesn't have to keep it, and you don't have to enter the Douluo Palace to see the young mistress. She doesn't want to see you." In a split second, Wang Feng was stunned. His mind was filled with question marks. What's going on? With Qian Rinshue's personality, he shouldn't have done something like this. What happened in the Angel Mirage was still fresh in his mind. Why doesn't she want to see me? Could it be that Qian Rinshue has realized that I'm a jerk and doesn't want to give me a chance? Wang Feng couldn't help but think. However, their souls had been kissed in the Angel Mirage, and they had seen each other's. However, on second thought, Qian Rinshue shouldn't be that kind of person. Since she said that, she would definitely do it. I haven't even fought with her. Why would she make the golden alligator Douluo say such things for no reason? Did she really say that? Wang Feng frowned. Yes. The golden alligator Douluo nodded. I don't believe it. Wang Feng shook his head. Let me go up. I want to see her. There must be something wrong. Wang Feng lifted his head to look at the Douluo Palace. He had a bad premonition. The premonition of the anterior secret word caused the spiritual crystal in his body to ripple. I'm afraid we can't. The golden alligator Douluo said carefully. Little miss told us not to let you see her. Do you think the few of you can stop me? Wang Feng frowned. Although we can't disobey little miss's orders. The golden alligator Douluo sighed and took a step forward. The rest of the titled Douluo also took a step forward. They surrounded Wang Feng in a pincer formation. Wang Feng shook his head and his body jerked. He didn't move at all. However, his boundless aura came crashing down like the heavens were collapsing. Instantly, the titled Douluo's expressions changed drastically. Their entire bodies were locked down by an invisible force. It was a force that surpassed all living beings. Just his aura alone was enough to immobilize all the titled Douluo. Even the golden alligator Douluo was no exception. Cold sweat seeped out from the foreheads of all the titled Douluo. This was an unimaginable strength. In this world, just his aura alone was enough to immobilize all the titled Douluo on the continent. He wasn't even an ordinary titled Douluo. The golden alligator Douluo had been guarding the Douluo Hall for a while, waiting for Qian Rinshue to inherit the godly seat. When Qian Rinshue became a godly seat, he almost reached rank 99. It was obvious. But even so, under the pressure of the current Pope's aura, he was still shaken like a stone statue. This made the golden alligator Douluo think of Little Mississippi. She was also this strong. Could it be that Popediff had also become a god? But why was there no movement at all? I don't want to hurt any of you. Wang Feng glanced at the few of them and walked away. What is this Qian Rinshue doing? I'll defeat her later. I'll be ruthless. He came to the top of the mountain and looked at the graveyard. Wang Feng saw another person. The Thousand Dao Stream. He wasn't dead. Not only was he not dead, but his aura was even stronger. It was strange. Because Qian Rinshue became a god, the Thousand Dao Stream didn't sacrifice himself to help Qian Rinshue. However, activating the Angel Mirage required a lot of life energy. The Thousand Dao Stream activated it twice, but Wang Feng used the Golden Lotus to keep him alive. But that was it. Although he wasn't dead, he should have lost his cultivation. Now it could only be Qian Rinshue. Kid, I knew you would come up. The Thousand Dao Stream had his hands behind his back. His face was red, and his body emitted a golden light. What? You thought I was dead? No, Wang Feng said. Hearing this, the Thousand Dao stream smiled. He was about to say that Wang Feng was not bad. Then Wang Feng said, yes. I just thought that there should be a tombstone or something here. The Thousand Dao stream. Chapter 1008. Doesn't she think I'm dead? Thousand Dao Flow glared at Wang Feng. This kid really likes to talk nonsense. After a moment of silence, Thousand Dao Flow slowly said, I was going to die, but that little thing of yours kept me alive. After Xiao Shui became a god, I also received an energy shock that allowed me to survive. Not only that, but my strength has also recovered. Energy shock? Is it the angel god? Wang Feng was surprised. The angel god is so generous? Thousand Dao Flow waved his hand and said, Don't talk about this, Wang Feng. Xiao Shui doesn't want to see you. The golden alligator Douluo must have told you that the agreement is invalid. You can go and have fun with your lovers. Don't delay my Xiao Shui. After hearing this, Wang Feng looked straight at Thousand Dao Flow. Thousand Dao Flow faced him calmly without any change in expression. Something was wrong. This old scoundrel desperately wanted him to marry Qian Renshu. Now, he actually said such words. Could it be that this old silver coin thought that Qian Renshu was not worthy of her after becoming a god? That shouldn't be. Although this old silver coin was a little sinister, he still had foresight. Wang Feng didn't believe that he didn't know about what happened in the extreme north. There was something wrong. Vaguely, Wang Feng seemed to have thought of something. He glanced at the sky. Ask her to come out and talk to me personally, Wang Feng said. Don't do this. Thousand Dao Flow's eyes flashed. At this moment, Wang Feng suddenly said, Do you not know why? It's just that Xiao Shui asked you to do this. Thousand Dao Flow was stunned. He thought to himself that this kid was really smart. Xiao Shui won't come out to see you. Thousand Dao Flow didn't answer. He only continued, I can't beat you, but it's meaningless for you to barge in. Wang Feng frowned again. There must be a problem. There was a big problem. Although becoming a god would change a person, it wouldn't completely change a person. Wang Feng understood Qian Renshu's personality and obsession. That agreement wasn't just an agreement. It was also her obsession to become a god. Because as long as she became a god and defeated him, she would be able to get him. Unless she directly erased her feelings after becoming a god. Therefore, she didn't care about this so-called agreement. But was that possible? Gods were merely people who had cultivated to a higher realm. Angel gods didn't need those cliché ways of severing emotions. There was no such thing as erasing emotions because of becoming a god. Old man, do you think it's normal? Wang Feng asked. Thousand Dao Lu was stunned. It was quite abnormal. He also felt that Little Snow was acting strangely after becoming a deity. He knew his granddaughter better than anyone else. That agreement should be very important to her. How could he give up for no reason? Wang Feng made his way toward the Douluo palace. The surrounding tombstones were like a sea, emitting a faint wave of energy. Thousand Dao Lu opened his mouth, wanting to stop him, but he was also secretly looking forward to it. But in the end, he stood in front of Wang Feng. Are you really going to stop me? Wang Feng frowned slightly. Qian Dao Lu remained silent. In the next moment, a majestic aura came crashing down like the sky and the sea. Qian Daolia's expression changed drastically as he looked at Wang Feng in shock. Even a rank 99 transcendent Douluo like him found it difficult to withstand this aura. How long had it been? Half a year ago, he could still exchange blows with this brat. Even after using his 9th soul skill, he could still suppress this brat. Now, his aura alone could suppress him to the point that he couldn't move an inch. The soul power in his body seemed to have turned into mud as it slowly flowed. Wang Feng remained silent. His aura was an aura formed by condensing and releasing his spiritual power. combined with the tremor sound of the chaotic 8 sounds. Even a demigod powerhouse might not be able to break free from his aura. As long as it wasn't a god who had reached rank 100, Wang Feng would lose his ability to fight under his aura. But at this moment, from the Douluo palace, a boundless sacred aura suddenly came out and instantly broke the situation where 1000 Dalu was suppressed by Wang Feng's aura. 1000 Dalu took a deep breath. A cold voice slowly sounded from the Douluo palace. Wang Feng, you can leave. I said that the agreement is invalid. This voice. It was the voice of Qianrenshu. It sounded even colder and more ethereal, as if an otherworldly fairy was speaking. Wang Feng was slightly stunned. He stood on the spot and thought for a long time before saying, "Come out and talk." "I'm not coming out." Wang Feng looked at the Douluo palace and suddenly said, "Is there a reason why you can't see me?" "No." "Then come out and talk." There was silence in the Douluo palace. "Is it related to the deity position?" Wang Feng continued to ask. "Don't ask any more, leave this place. I'll pretend that you've never been here." 1000 Dalu frowned slightly. He vaguely sensed something. Not long ago, after Little Snow became a god, she didn't feel happy because of it. On the contrary, she had been strange ever since she became a god. The most obvious manifestation was that she often stared at the tombstone outside the Douluo palace in a daze. Initially, 1000 Dalu thought that Little Snow missed that kid too much. She wanted to beat that kid up and trap him by her side? Hence, he advised Little Snow to go to the extreme north to find that kid. But Qianrenshu directly rejected him. Later on, she stayed in the Douluo palace alone and didn't let anyone in. Even her grandfather didn't let her in. At this moment, Wang Feng didn't leave. Instead, he walked straight to the Douluo palace. As soon as he left, Qianrenshu's voice became a little anxious. "Go away. Don't come over." Hearing this voice, Wang Feng knew that there must be something wrong. Just as Wang Feng walked to the door of the Douluo palace, a golden pillar of light suddenly erupted in the hall, and a huge aura came from inside. That was the power of a true god. An existence above level 100. Furthermore, it was an energy aura that surpassed soul power. It was even more noble, extraordinary, and powerful. Wang Feng kicked open the door of the Douluo palace. In an instant, the entire hall was filled with a white gold light. A figure stood there quietly in the middle. She was wearing gorgeous golden armor and holding a holy sword that burned with golden flames. Her long golden hair was even more dazzling under the platinum light. The 3 pairs of wings on her back were each feather emitting a holy power. They were indestructible and beautiful. It was Qianrenshu. After half a year, it had to be said that Qianrenshu's temperament was extraordinary. Coupled with her beautiful face, her charm could barely be compared to Wang Feng's. However, Qianrenshu's beautiful face was filled with coldness and killing intent. A trace of pain flashed in her eyes. She looked at Wang Feng and slowly raised the angelic holy sword in her hand. This sacred sword also looked far more powerful than before. Looking at Qianrenshu at this moment, Wang Feng frowned slightly. With his senses, he knew that Qianrenshu had indeed become a god. A true angel god. Chapter 1009. Although she had just become a god, she had already surpassed the upper limit of this world. That magnificent power made Wang Feng feel a little threatened. "Why did you come in?" Qianrenshu's body trembled slightly, as if she was suppressing something. "Nonsense, of course it's for you," Wang Feng said. The killing intent in Qianrenshu's eyes dissipated slightly, but it immediately surged again. Qianrenshu looked at Wang Feng with a complicated expression. In the next moment, she released her aura. The angelic holy sword in her hand burst out with intense light, and golden flames spread from the holy sword to her body. She looked like a goddess bathing in the sun. Qianrenshu roared, and killing intent burst out from her eyes. she rushed into the sky and turned into a golden light. The pupils in her eyes began to disappear, and her eyes seemed to have turned golden. Like two golden lasers, they pierced through the sky. That majestic pressure and aura made the soul masters in the entire martial spirit city feel a condensed pressure, and they all looked on in horror. In front of this supreme power, the rules of this world seemed to be replaced. Even many civilians knelt down and worshipped her. Wang Feng was slightly puzzled when he saw this and looked at Qianrenxue. Under the state of explosive power, the soul rings on her body shone. She had a total of 600,000-year soul rings, 3 of which were black, and the last one was a platinum divine ring. The soul rings beat, bringing about waves of energy, stirring up the wind and clouds in this world. In the sky, golden light was resplendent, as if it was condensing a majestic power. Under the overwhelming pressure, the divine power was awe-inspiring. There is indeed something wrong, Wang Fengxin said. It seems that the God realm is targeting me? Qianrenxue's body exuded a divine aura, and her golden eyes were filled with endless killing intent. Wang Feng sneered, and with a tap of his foot, he rushed into the sky. He didn't even cast a state on himself. Dalu watched and couldn't bear it. What happened to Xiao Shui? Why did she ask him to give up on the person he loved, and after meeting her, she had such a strong killing intent? That was the power of the angel god. Could that kid do it? In midair, Wang Feng stared at the Qianrenxue. The armor on her body seemed to have changed slightly. It was now in a different state. It was reloading for battle. The most direct manifestation of this was that the surface area of his body had increased. Amidst the golden divine flames, the dazzling armor did not emit any heat. It only had an aura that contained boundless killing intent. With a thought, Wang Fengxin's red-green flying sword appeared in front of him. In the next moment, boundless platinum light radiated from the Qianrenxue. This was the domain of God. Of course, there was no need to elaborate on its power. Within the white gold light, Wang Feng's forehead trembled slightly. He clenched his fist, and the energy of the 6 blood gold lines burst out. A formless aura encased Wang Feng. Qianrenxue did not say anything, but his aura became more and more dignified. The pressure became even greater. His laser-like eyes seemed to have condensed to a pinnacle and shot toward Wang Feng. Wang Feng was fearless. He stared at the Qianrenxue's eyes. Spiritual power with the power of purification instantly invaded Wang Feng's sea of consciousness. Even a titled Douluo would faint instantly, and their sea of consciousness would be disintegrated by the power of purification. However, Qianrenxue's spiritual power did not stir up any waves in Wang Feng's sea of consciousness. The soul crystal only moved a little. The difference in spiritual power between the two was obvious. Immediately after, the wings on Qianrenxue's back spread slightly. The holy sword in his hand was like a rainbow as he attacked Wang Feng directly. Leaping down from the sky, the angelic holy sword in Qianrenxue's hand expanded explosively. When it fell, it turned into a giant flaming sword that was at least 100 meters long. The lines on the blade of the holy sword could even be seen clearly. The entire sky seemed to have been split open by this sword. The power of the sword, which contained boundless divine power, could easily cut the martial spirit city into 2. Wang Feng stood where he was. His spiritual power was vast. The scarlet and green flying sword suddenly changed. When Qianrenxue attacked, it had already turned into a giant sword. However, compared to Qianrenxue's angelic holy sword that was over 100 meters long, it was naturally far inferior. The scarlet and green flying sword slashed out dozens of sword lights in midair. Finally, they merged into one. The flying sword slashed down, and the dense sword net formed a sword light that reached the sky. Boom! Instantly, the entire martial spirit city could be seen clearly. The giant flaming sword that was over 100 meters long was directly sent flying. Qianrenxue's figure retreated dozens of meters in midair. The scarlet and green flying sword also turned into a dense scarlet and green light, and turned into the mysterious underworld spike. The soul crystal in Wang Feng's sea of consciousness was agitated. However, he did not move at all. To him, this level of agitation was not even an appetizer. With the strength of his spiritual power, the scarlet and green flying sword was terrifyingly powerful. Even if he did not make a move, he could control the scarlet and green flying sword with his spiritual power alone. No one in the entire continent could be his opponent. Qian Rinxue's attack was easily broken. In this world's greatest power showdown, it was very difficult for there to be any fancy schemes. Those so-called battle experiences were not worth mentioning in front of this kind of peak power. As for soul skills, that was even more absurd. After becoming a god, divine skills were the most important skills. A soul master's soul skills could not harm Qian Rinxue at all. However, these rules were only applicable to other soul masters. To Wang Feng, his soul skill wasn't inferior to a godly skill with the support of his current soul power. Qian Rinxue, who was sent flying, did not stop at all. His body erupted with even more dazzling golden flames, and he attacked Wang Feng again. Qian Rinxue suddenly raised the angelic holy sword high up. The flames on the holy sword suddenly burned and soared into the sky. The golden light that was brewing in the sky shattered the clouds and formed the same shape as this flame. Boundless golden light spread toward Qian Rinxue. Angel's divine light. The moment the boundless golden light landed on Qian Rinxue's body, it turned into golden lava and covered Qian Rinxue's entire body. It was as if he had entered another terrifying state. Obviously, it was because Wang Feng had easily broken through the sword just now. It let Qian Rinxue know the difference between the two sides and caused him to enter this second special state. Under this layer of golden lava, Qian Rinxue's armor began to change shape and was filled with a powerful aura. At the center of his chest, a pattern of golden angels fighting appeared. The golden flames on his body condensed into a golden flame wheel behind Qian Rinxue, flickering with dazzling light. Holy Sun Angel! The thousand streams below muttered. The angel god's strongest attack form. According to ancient records, after the angel god became a god, he used this form to kill tens of thousands of evil soul masters. It purified endless evil and filth. When that golden flame wheel appeared, it meant that this world would be truly purified. Chapter 10:10. Is there a need to do this? Qian Dalu was shocked. The Qian Rinxue, who had evolved into a new form, was now even more terrifying. Not only the civilians in Martial Spirit City, but even the soul masters were trembling as they looked at the figure that was like the sun. There's a new form, Wang Feng watched with rapt attention. At this moment, the Qian Rinxue was not in the right state. It was not controlled by anyone, but the energy in her body seemed to have completely exceeded its capacity. Logically speaking, such a situation shouldn't happen to a god. Either she was affected by other energy, or there was a problem when she inherited the power of the angel god. That led to the current situation. It must be related to the realm of the god. The Qian Rinxue should not have such a strong killing intent towards him. It was very likely that she was affected and driven by other energy. At the same time, it was very likely that she was affected when she inherited the power of the angel god. Thinking of this, Wang Feng seemed to have understood something. At this moment, the Qian Rinxue moved again. The Qian Rinxue, who had transformed into a more powerful form, raised the angelic sacred sword again. No, the angelic sacred sword was now completely enveloped by golden flames and turned into the solar sacred sword. The golden flame wheel behind her lit up again. Countless rays of golden light surged toward the sacred sun sword from all directions. In an instant, this dazzling solar holy sword suddenly became several hundred meters long. It was several times stronger than before. The terrifying solar sacred sword lay horizontally in the sky. Divine energy surged in the sky as if everything would be turned into smoke under this solar sacred sword. No dark corner of the martial spirit city could hide from the giant sword. Wang Feng's expression was calm. The black lotus in his hand bloomed, and a black light shield enveloped his body. The red and green flying swords reformed and attacked the sword. Rumble! The solar sacred sword slashed down. It seemed to be very slow, but the whole world lost its brilliance under this sword. The earth seemed to tremble under this power, afraid that it would fall. The red and green flying swords that were dozens of meters long collided with it. Countless streams of golden flames were stirred up, shaking the void. The sacred sun sword, which was hundreds of meters long, only shook a little before the red and green flying swords transformed into the mysterious underworld spike. They were still burning with golden flames. Crackling sounds could be heard. The power of a divine artifact was on full display at this moment. No matter how strong Wang Feng's spiritual power was, the Xianming blood dragon spike was just a soul bone. However, there was still a big gap between it and a real divine artifact. He was unable to fully unleash the power of Wang Feng's spiritual power. Unless Wang Feng used his current soul power and the cauldron of heaven and earth to train for a few years, absorbing even more power and fusing it with his own will, there was a chance that the profound underworld blood dragon spike could evolve into a divine item. Most of the divine artifacts of the gods could not be formed so easily. Apart from the materials, there were many other things that were very demanding. The red and green flying swords disappeared. The sacred sun sword slashed down. Dong! A muffled sound reverberated through the void. Rings of golden flames were like water ripples, eroding the light shield formed by the black lotus. The powerful impact only caused some cracks to appear on the defensive light shield. It was not enough to shatter the light shield formed by the black lotus. However, the golden flames were burning the black light barrier in a frenzy. It was slowly shattering. This sacred sun sword was one of the Qian Rinxue's most powerful attacks at the moment. However, it was not that easy to break through Wang Feng's defense. Wang Feng's eyes flickered as he looked at the sacred sun sword suppressing the pitch-black light. He clenched his right fist. The 6 blood-gold patterns on his body lit up with a dazzling light. The Soul Bone's million dragon fist was released. Majestic power gathered on Wang Feng's fist. In the next moment, Wang Feng threw a punch. That 500-meter-long golden greatsword had almost drowned him. This punch looked like an ant bombarding a giant's body. However, clang! A crisp sound could be heard. The sacred sun sword, which was hundreds of meters long, was directly blasted away. The powerful force landed on the blade of the sword, creating a sound that shook the clouds. Endless golden flames, driven by this punch, began to scatter in all directions. It was as if golden flames were dancing in the sky. The strongest thing about Wang Feng now, besides his spiritual power, was his physical strength. Spiritual power still needed a carrier to be unleashed. However, the carrier of his physical strength, Wang Feng's physical body, was not inferior to Qian Rinxue's divine body. It was even stronger. It could perfectly unleash one's physical strength. This punch was far more than 1,000,000 kilograms of force. Countless people could not see clearly what had happened. This was because Wang Feng's figure, compared to the huge golden sword that was hundreds of meters long, he was too small. He was only 1.8 meters tall. They could only see that the terrifying golden flame sword, which was powerful enough to split the sky and earth, was blasted away just like that. Only the 1,000 Dao streams below could be seen clearly. Just how strong is this kid? 1,000 Dao Lu's pupils shrank. He can break Xiao Shui's sacred sun sword with just one punch. This is the power of a god. In fact, Qian Rinxue had just stepped into the god realm and became an angel god. In this world, with Qian Rinxue's strength, not to mention the holy angel form, even in his normal form, no soul master could defeat him. But for the God realm, Qian Rinxue still had a long way to go. In midair, under this punch, the angelic holy sword in Qian Rinxue's hand returned to its original form. This sword, after passing through the red and green flying swords and the defensive light of the Black Lotus, had weakened a lot. Especially the defensive ability of the Black Lotus, which had offset at least half of the power of the Sacred Sun sword. If Wang Feng continued to use the Black Lotus, this sword would not even be able to break the defense formed by the Black Lotus. Wang Feng did not waste his soul power, so he threw a punch. Waving his hand, one could see that there were some scorched marks on his palm. The flames of the angel god were after all the power of a god. Wang Feng did not defend and directly chose to use his fist to meet force with force. He was not strong enough to not be injured. However, this kind of injury did not need the recovery of the Golden Lotus. Relying on the body's self-healing, it was almost instantly healed. Wang Feng looked at Qian Rinxue. Although he had already received 2 sword attacks, if it was a normal Qian Rinxue, he would have given up by now, because his strength had completely surpassed the latter. But the current Qian Rinxue obviously did not intend to give up. How could the power of a god be exhausted by just 2 sword attacks? In the next moment, Qian Rinxue attacked Wang Feng again. She seemed to be a little surprised by Wang Feng's strength. This time, she did not use any powerful divine skills, but directly attacked Wang Feng at close range. Wang Fengxin's mind moved. Chapter 10-11. Before Qian Rinxue even got close, a scorching aura could be felt. It could be felt clearly from tens of meters away. Ordinary titled Douluo couldn't withstand such a scorching aura. The angelic holy sword drew a ghostly arc in midair, and the angelic armor on his body shone brightly. The angelic flame wheel that represented divine power flew out from his back. After locking onto Wang Feng with his spiritual power, the angelic flame wheel flew above his head. It released a layer of golden light that engulfed Wang Feng, following which it descended. Wang Feng frowned slightly. He moved his feet and easily dodged it. However, the angelic flame wheel also appeared in a flash and landed on his body. Wang Fengxin was shocked. This angelic flame wheel seemed to contain a special rule power. Once it was locked onto, there was no way to dodge it. Was this the power of a true god? Golden flames burned Wang Feng's body. However, they couldn't hurt Wang Feng much. This flame was similar to the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. It could purify evil and had a strong burning ability. However, Wang Feng's body had been tempered by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. How could he be hurt by these golden flames? He only felt a slight burning sensation. However, the damage that this burning sensation caused to Wang Feng's body couldn't compare to his recovery speed. Just like earlier. However, the only troublesome thing about this golden flame wheel was that it made it difficult for him to move. The soul power in his body also solidified a little. At this moment, Qian Rinxue arrived beside Wang Feng and slashed down with his sword. Tremor! Wang Feng's eyes flashed, and he let out a blurry godly sound. Suddenly, Qian Rinxue's body trembled. This chaotic 8 sounds was Wang Feng's only self-created soul skill that relied on his spiritual power. Although the tremor sound didn't have a strong offensive effect, its control was very strong. With Wang Feng's current spiritual power, even Qian Rinxue would be shaken to the spot for a few seconds. Using these few seconds, Wang Feng's strength surged as he tried to break free from the angelic flame wheel. Veins popped out from Wang Feng's body. The violent strength formed an invisible current that spread around Wang Feng's body. The 6 blood gold patterns on his body were faintly visible. Wang Feng roared as his power had reached its peak. Countless cracks instantly appeared on the angel flame wheel. At this moment, Qian Rinxue abruptly awoke as well, and she suddenly let out a fierce howl. Under the boundless golden domain, her entire body shockingly vanished. Countless golden lights appeared in the sky like Kongming lanterns. In the next moment, These lights surged into the angel's flame wheel. The cracks disappeared in an instant. Wisps of terrifying force burst out of the angel's flame wheel. Wang Feng was stunned. At this moment, he felt the angel of light and dark martial soul in his consciousness tremble, as if it was being pulled by the power of the angel's flame wheel. Even more frenzied golden flames burned Wang Feng's entire body. The angel's flame wheel had become even more terrifying after being fused with the Qianrenxue. At this moment, Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. The chaotic green lotus martial soul true body was suddenly released. Green light flickered, and endless power gathered from the green lotus. The black lotus on one hand remained unchanged, while the golden lotus on the other hand appeared. The two repulsive forces once again pulled the blood gold pattern. At this moment, the second blood gold pattern began to fuse under the powerful force of the angel's flame wheel. As expected, the key to the fusion of the blood gold pattern was to withstand the power of the divine rank and above. At the same time, the golden lotus and the black lotus were used to pull the two different origin powers from each blood gold pattern. Wang Feng used the inspiration he had gained from resisting the heavenly tribulation. Anyway, the Qianrenxue's power was not enough to cause serious harm to her. On the contrary, she should release some of her energy so that she could wake up later. Ask her what was going on. He might not even be able to use 1/5 of his current strength. Defeating the Qianrenxue was a sure thing. The angel's flame wheel shone even more brightly. The second blood gold pattern was also rapidly fusing. After the second blood gold pattern fused, the third, the fourth. When the fifth blood gold pattern turned into a dazzling purple Genesis rune, the power of the angel's flame wheel finally weakened. However, Wang Feng's power had decreased significantly. This was because Wang Feng could not use the purple Genesis rune for the time being. He could only use the remaining two blood gold patterns. However, the weakening of the angel's flame wheel made it difficult for Wang Feng to fuse the sixth and seventh patterns. Seeing this, Wang Feng felt that it was about time. The next moment, Wang Feng took a deep breath. With the help of the Chaos Martial Spirit True Body, his strength increased greatly. He gathered all the power in his body and broke free from the shackles. The angel's flame wheel shattered. It turned into endless light. Qianrenxue's figure suddenly appeared in the air. However, her face was incomparably pale, and the aurora-like golden light in her eyes slowly disappeared, revealing golden pupils. There was a hint of helplessness and gloominess, but when she looked at Wang Feng, a smile suddenly appeared on her face. Seeing the familiar smile, Wang Feng knew that Qianrenxue was back. "You lost," Wang Feng said with a smile. Qianrenxue's face turned slightly red, but it quickly turned pale. The smile on her face disappeared. "No, I haven't lost yet," Wang Feng thought for a moment. "But you can't beat me. According to the agreement, you—" "Shut up," Qianrenxue snorted. "I said I haven't lost yet." With that, Qianrenxue clenched the angelic sacred sword in her hand again. Streams of angels' divine power rushed into Qianrenxue's body again. The golden flames seemed to never stop. Wang Feng looked at Qianrenxue in shock. He thought that she was just being stubborn. Unexpectedly, she seemed to be serious. Why? Wang Feng couldn't figure it out. "You can't beat me at all, in the situation just now." He had already connected 3 moves with Qianrenxue. Otherwise, why would he stand there stupidly and let the sword strike him? However, right at this moment, a violet ray of light suddenly attacked from extremely far away. A pitch-black pillar of light suddenly shone from the Pope's palace in the distance. The moment the black light column, which symbolized the evilness of the world, appeared, the sky that was originally filled with golden light dimmed. The purple light suddenly came. Wang Fengxin was slightly shocked. The black lotus surged and the light shield appeared again. The red and green flying swords turned into a stream of light and bombarded the dark purple light. Whoosh! This purple light seemed to be more powerful than Qianrenchue's sacred sun sword. The red and green flying swords were instantly shattered. The soul crystal in Wang Feng's mind shook slightly. The purple light didn't stop at all. It directly landed on the light shield formed by the Black Lotus. At this moment, in the state of martial soul true body, the defensive light shield formed by Wang Feng's Black Lotus was more than twice as strong as before. However, even so, the defensive light shield only lasted for a few seconds before it shattered. It directly attacked Wang Feng. At the same time, a cold voice sounded. "She can't beat you. What about me? Wang Feng, die." Hearing this voice, Wang Fengxin felt a chill in his heart. P.S. There are 5 more updates. More votes, more subscriptions. Don't look at the pirated version. Chapter 10-12. Cold. Bang. That purple light, with an aura that could cut through space, slashed toward Wang Feng. The moment the light shield formed by the Black Lotus was broken, Wang Feng's god-killing spear quietly appeared in his hand. The blood wings on his back flashed. Soul-devouring blood wings activated. Soul power was injected into the god-killing spear, and the demonic patterns on the spear body appeared, emitting a monstrous murderous aura. Wang Feng suddenly placed the spear in front of him. Clang clang. An incomparably terrifying power came from the demonic scythe. Wang Feng flew back more than 10 meters in the air, but at the critical moment, he raised the spear in his hand and directly deflected the scythe flying towards him with the god-killing spear. The god-killing spear was not a real thing. As a martial soul form, it was only condensed by Wang Feng using soul power, and it was only good at attacking. But at this moment it was able to resist this divine weapon head-on without being shattered, which showed how powerful it was. However, this flying streak was obviously not a hard one. But Wang Feng stood in the void, his heart breaking out in cold sweat. It was exactly what he was afraid of. He never expected that when he was about to defeat Qianrenchu. Bibidon actually appeared at this time. That's right. That voice. That purple light. That pitch-black pillar of light. It was Bibidon. Can't you become a god a day later? Wang Fengxin was speechless. For a moment, he didn't know how to deal with it. Bibidon becoming a god a little later was within Wang Feng's calculations, so he came to the Douluo palace to see Qianrenchu first. Because Bibidon had been cleansed by the chaotic divine light, her body's potential had increased. Even if she inherited the Rakshasa god, there would definitely be a huge change, and there was still a lot of room to improve her own potential. This would take some time, just like every time Wang Feng was cleansed by the chaotic divine light. He spent a lot of time to improve his body's potential through training. Looking at the pitch-black pillar of light, Wang Feng's face darkened. Just from that attack, Wang Feng knew that Bibidon was definitely much stronger than Qianrenchu. He had become a god with twin martial souls, sacrificed 300,000-year soul beasts, tempered his body with chaotic divine light and red lotus hellfire. Even if Bibidon had just stepped into the god level, a deity throne formed from the combination of these elements would still be extremely powerful. Wang Feng even suspected that Bibidon alone could defeat Xiao San. The pitch-black pillar of light felt extremely evil. It represented the evil divine power of the Rakshasa deity and covered the sky. In an instant, it covered up the holy aura of the Qianrenchu. The Failian was knocked back and fell into the black pillar of light. A humanoid figure appeared in the air above the Douluo palace in a flash. At this moment, she was covered in pitch-black divine armor. The divine armor was black and purple in color. The divine equipment formed by the soul bones looked evil and strange under the contrast of this color. The armor extended from the waist to the back, and there were several giant black scythes that looked like wings. The Rakshasa deity was ugly and powerful. Just like what Wang Feng saw in the Rakshasa secret realm, the ugly statue of the Rakshasa deity. Because she had absorbed too much evil resentment, it caused her body to mutate and distort, and her appearance would change greatly. However, Bibidon at this moment was so beautiful that it made Wang Fengxin's heart skip a beat. Under the armor that emitted an evil aura and the giant sides was a snow-white, cold, and extremely beautiful face. Although those eyes were incomparably cold, they were pure and flawless. Even her perfect body, which was wrapped in the evil armor, had a touch of coldness that was faintly discernible and carried a flawless luster. Wang Feng knew that this was because of the red lotus hellfire. Bibidon inherited the extremely evil Rakshasa deity's power, but because of the red lotus hellfire, her body became pure and flawless. Unlike the Rakshasa deity, her body was not transformed by the evil divine power. Instead, it allowed Bibidon to use this divine power more perfectly. This was one of the reasons why Bibidon was so powerful. It had to be said that the current Bibidon's appearance was not inferior to Qianrenxue's, but her aura was more powerful. There was also a contradictory sense of beauty. Her charm was astonishing. It had been close to a year. Wang Feng looked at Bibidon in front of him again, and sighed in his heart. At this moment, other than Wang Feng, everyone who saw Bibidon at this moment, they were all stunned. His Majesty the Pope, who had disappeared for a year. How could he appear at this time? Especially Qianrenxue. She did not know about the news of Bibidon's death, because this news was suppressed by those titled Douluo. The few titled Douluo only relayed this news to the Thousand Dao sect. But how could Thousand Dao sect tell Qianrenxue that Bibidon was killed by Tang San? That was the key to Qianrenxue becoming a god. If it was revealed, wouldn't it affect her becoming a god? Moreover, Thousand Dao sect did not believe the news of Bibidon's death, because they did not see the body. When those titled Douluo returned to the great Star Do forest later, they did not find the body of His Majesty the Pope. Therefore, Qianrenxue only thought that Bibidon also went to inherit the godhood. Compared to others, this was even more shocking. His Majesty the Pope, who was famous in the history of the martial spirit palace and was a great talent, had disappeared for a year. He actually came back in such a state. Rakshasa god. No, this is not just the aura of Rakshasa god. Thousand Dao sect watched from below. He could vaguely sense another kind of power. Rakshasa god was not like this at all. At this time, Bibidon's body was flowing with a faint green light, which looked very strange. But is she going to kill that kid again? Anyway, according to Qian Jun and the other three guys, these two people met in the Great Star Do forest and fought a million-year soul beast together. It seems that their relationship has returned to the original Pope and Popedif. Why does she want to kill him now? Thousand Dao sect was puzzled. Not much information was known about this. Maybe only a few titled Douluo knew. But Qianrenxue did not have such doubts, because in Qianrenxue's memory, she did not know about the Great Star Do forest. She only knew that last time on the Sea God Island, this mother wanted to kill Wang Feng. Now that she had become a god, she would not let him go even more? What should I do? Qianrenxue asked in his heart. The air fell into a short silence. At this time, Bibidon looked at Wang Feng, expressionless. Her eyes fell on Qianrenxue, as if she was not surprised by the battle between Qianrenxue and Wang Feng. Her body began to emit a layer of black and purple aura. However, her face was so pale that it was a huge shock to look at. The sky was covered by black clouds, causing the martial spirit city, which was originally daytime, to fall into night early. Fortunately, the light on Qianrenxue's body made the night a little brighter. Wang Feng opened his mouth and wanted to say something first. But once he said it, he would definitely be exposed. Chapter 10:13. At this moment, Qianrenxue's divine power was mostly depleted. She seemed to have temporarily recovered her murderous consciousness. Apart from the complicated look in her eyes, she probably wouldn't attack for the time being. If she were to be exposed, she would know that Bibidon also had that strange agreement with him. He didn't know if she would go berserk. At that time, he would have to face two gods at the same time. That would be troublesome. Fortunately, Bibidon didn't seem to give Wang Feng a chance to speak. The murderous intent in her eyes was somewhat similar to Qianrenxue's, but her pupils didn't disappear and her consciousness seemed to be very clear. But there were some differences. Humph! Bibidon's cold eyes swept over and landed on Wang Feng. In the next moment, she attacked Wang Feng directly. Attacking as soon as they meet. Bibidon shouldn't know about the agreement between Qianrenxue and me. Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. At that time, there were only 1,000 streams and Qianrenxue. Bibidon must be inheriting the angel god. How could she know? Seeing Bibidon attacking, Wang Feng took a deep breath and didn't use the god-slaying spear. To deal with Bibidon, Wang Feng didn't intend to be like Qianrenxue. He would take one move after another. He wanted to crush his opponent and let Bibidon know that he was invincible. He wanted to cut off all her thoughts. With Bibidon's character, it wasn't the best idea to stand here and let her attack. Crushing her with powerful strength was the best plan. To crush her, he had to use his deification soul skill. Deification. Thorn Lotus. In addition to the soul-devouring blood wings that had already been attached. At this moment, in the state of his martial soul true body, there were only 2 blood gold patterns left. Wang Feng's enhancement was at least 10 times less, but it was enough to crush Bibidon. How strong was he with all his soul skills? No, to be precise, this wasn't his full state. It was only 2/5 of his strength, because there were 5 blood gold patterns missing. Golden lightning surrounded Wang Feng. The soul-slaying spear in Wang Feng's hand flashed with lightning. At this moment, Bibidon let out a shrill roar. Flames rose from its body, and the huge demonic scythe in its hand slashed out a blackish-purple scythe light that was hundreds of meters long. This attack alone was enough to show that Bibidon was much stronger than Qianrenxue. The reason was simple. Qianrenxue had entered the Holy Sun angel state and used the Holy Sun sword to unleash such a powerful move. However, in Bibidon's hands, it was just a direct strike. He stared at the incoming demon sickle. This time, Wang Feng did not dodge. His powerful spiritual power could even shatter the angel's flame wheel. At this moment, the power of the soul crystal core was fully displayed. Emptiness. In an instant, it was as if the entire world had fallen silent. His perception had increased tenfold, and the effect of his spiritual power had been greatly magnified. If Wang Feng had opened the emptiness realm in this state, the angel flame wheel would not have been hit. Extreme Dragon Falcon Kill. His right leg bone flashed as he unleashed his soul bone's soul skill. In his current state, unleashing a soul skill was simply perfect. Just before that black-purple sickle light struck down, Wang Feng suddenly disappeared. He appeared above Bibidon. Swish, swish, swish. 3 ring-shaped light blades cut through a length of more than 10 meters from Wang Feng's feet and landed on Bibidon's body. However, Bibidon's reaction was also extremely fast, and a black-purple barrier rose in front of her. But at this moment, an ancient sound rang out from Wang Feng's mouth, who had long been prepared. The vibrating word sound of the chaotic 8 sounds. Qianrenxue was shattered for 2 seconds, but for Bibidon it was less than a second. It was as if it was just a pause. However, it was this pause that caused the black-purple barrier in front of Bibidon to disappear. The 3 ring-shaped light blades landed directly on her body. Bang bang bang. The god equipment gave Bibidon a powerful defense. Although these 3 moves were extremely powerful, and even a demigod rank powerhouse would not be able to block Wang Feng's soul bone's soul skill. However, a god was different. With the defensive power of the god equipment, these 3 light blades only caused Bibidon to be stunned and did not cause any damage. It was enough. Wind, thunder, absolute god spear, emotion severing. With the stun effect, even Bibidon needed 2 seconds to react. Although soul skills had no effect on a god-rank powerhouse, the reason was also very simple, because the soul power of a soul master and the divine power of a god were 2 different levels of energy. But Wang Feng was different. His soul power was not inferior to divine power. It might even be a little stronger. Under such circumstances, the soul skill he used was not much different from a divine skill. Why were the divine skills of a god so strong? For example, the sea god's 13 golden halberds and the Rakshasa god's Rakshasa divine skill were nothing more than using divine power to drive them. Otherwise, the effect would not be so strong. And the move he used now was a self-created unique skill that Wang Feng had never stopped practicing. It was comparable to a divine skill, especially with Wang Feng's current soul power, combined with the lightning and thunder power on his body and the wind power in midair. Under the spear, the purplish-green spear light pierced through the void and landed directly on Bibidon's body. Bibidon could not fight back at all after this combo. At this moment, the god equipment on Bibidon's body suddenly erupted with a violent purple light. It weakened the momentum of Wang Feng's attack. The spear light, which contained the power of wind and thunder, broke through the purple light with the power of emotion severing. It landed on Bibidon's body. Even after being weakened, the huge force caused Bibidon's body to shake violently, and even his mind seemed to be affected. Boom! Bibidon flew backward, but it did not disappear. Wang Feng stretched out his left hand. Long Xie's left arm bone was faintly visible. Starlight gravity. Million dragon breath. Under the starlight gravity, Wang Feng's body flickered with a star-like evil light, as if he had become the center of the world. The blood-red whirlpool appeared in Wang Feng's palm. The blood-red whirlpool was aimed at the direction where Bibidon was sent flying. At this moment, Qian Rinxue, who was at the side, felt a terrifying suction force. This suction force was not only physical. Even the angel power in his body was restless. What did this mean? He was going easy on me just now. Qian Rinxue had mixed feelings. But between us we can only, not to mention other things, just the few moves that Wang Feng used now were enough to defeat him. At this moment, under the 2 suction forces, Bibidon, who had just been sent flying backward, was pulled by Wang Feng. In an instant, he was pulled toward Wang Feng. At this moment, Bibidon was hit by the spear. The god power in his body was shaken, and he had yet to react. He was pulled toward Wang Feng. Million Dragon Fist. Wang Feng's right arm bone contained a violent light, and the terrifying force seemed to be unbearable for this space. Intense distortion. One punch. Boom. Wang Feng punched Bibidon. Chapter 10:14. The massive force seemed capable of destroying everything in its path. However, the punch landed a few centimeters in front of Bibidon. Boom! In an instant, the air current brought about by the pure power of this punch formed a hole that was over 1,000 meters long behind Bibidon. This was a punch that contained all of Wang Feng's buffs and the power boost from the right arm bone. It was the Million Dragon Fist. The power of this punch was the pinnacle. It was the pinnacle of power. The force of the punch created a 1,000-meter-long path in the sky that was filled with rolling dark clouds. In the end, it blasted a huge hole in the sky. Sunlight was visible. "You've lost," Wang Feng said calmly. Bibidon stared at the punch in a daze. Could it be that this man was already this strong? Qian Rinxue, who was standing at the side, was also stunned. From the beginning to the end, Bibidon was completely crushed. Apart from the beginning, she did not even have a chance to attack. Wang Feng's series of attacks seemed to have been perfectly calculated. Even a god would not be able to withstand it. Qian Rinxue, who was watching from below, gulped. F***ck, this is too monstrous. I didn't lose. However, Bibidon said coldly, Even if your punch lands, it won't hurt me. At this moment, the two of them were very close to each other. Don't be stubborn. If my punch lands, you'll definitely be injured, Wang Feng said with a frown. He knew his own strength. That punch just now was at least 2 million caddies. It was close to 3 million caddies. Even with Bibidan's current strength, if he took that punch head-on, his godly armor would shatter. It would be good if his lungs were injured. Then come down, Bibidan said calmly. I'll stand right here. Wang Feng, in the distance. Qian Renshua frowned slightly. He felt that something was not right. However, he could not tell what it was. Wang Feng was speechless. Humph! Bibidan snorted coldly. Her figure flickered, and she instantly disappeared dozens of meters away from Wang Feng. The next moment, a purple light flowed on her godly armor. A faint shadow radiated from her body. The 8 giant sides behind Bibidan suddenly disappeared and merged with the Rakshasa demon scythe in her hand. Suddenly, a purple flame ignited from the Rakshasa demon scythe and spread to Bibidan's body. Under the purplish-black flames, Bibidan's divine power seemed to be burning as well. A powerful aura rose from Bibidan's body. Wang Feng was stunned. He could still become stronger? Could it be the same as the Qianrenshua, with a more powerful state? Using his martial soul as a guide to raise his strength to the next level? Bibidan's divine equipment suddenly appeared with countless evil spirits, Yiksha, Mara True Lord, and other creatures that served the Rakshasa god. Extreme Rakshasa, Bibidong shouted in a low voice. The ultimate condensation of divine power seemed to have solidified the faith, evil thoughts, and resentment of countless living beings. The divine equipment on her body looked even more evil and ferocious, and the Rakshasa demon scythe in her hand burned with purplish-black evil flames. Seeing this, Wang Feng was sure. This must be Bibidan's strongest state. Do you think I'll give you this chance? Wang Feng's expression was indifferent. He wasn't going to just stand by and watch. The cauldron of heaven and earth was released in his palm, and the divine light of heaven and earth covered directly like the clouds of heaven and earth. There was no way to avoid it. When the divine light of heaven and earth fell on Bibidan's body, the purplish-black flames on Bibidan's body disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, the various patterns on her divine equipment also quickly disappeared. The state quickly disappeared and disintegrated. Bibidan, Qianrenshua, how can his soul skill be effective against a god? Qianrenshua looked at him in disbelief. This was unbelievable. Qianrenshua felt that there was a problem with this question just now. The difference between a soul master and a god was a fundamental one. But Wang Feng's soul skill still maintained its powerful strength and could even reach the point of hurting a god. Could it be that he also had divine power? Impossible. If he had divine power, she would have sensed it. It's time to end this. Wang Feng shook his head slightly. The divine light of heaven and earth was so powerful that it could even remove the state of a god. It was like removing the state of a martial soul true body. This was the result of Wang Feng's soul power changing twice. However, at this moment, Bibidan's expression didn't change at all, because a green halo emerged from between Bibidan's eyebrows in an instant. Under the cover of this green halo, the divine light of heaven and earth released by the cauldron of heaven and earth disappeared. In an instant, Bibidan's aura began to rise again. The state of an extreme Rakshasa began to appear. Seeing this, it was Wang Feng's turn to be dumbfounded. What the hell is going on? It can even offset the divine light of heaven and earth? The green halo just now was produced on its own. Wait, is that the chaotic divine light? Or is it the product of the chaotic divine light and Bibidan's divine power after the divine light of heaven and earth? Almost instantly, Wang Feng figured it out. Because the chaotic divine light was released by the chaotic green lotus, the cauldron of heaven and earth couldn't compare to the chaotic green lotus. Naturally, The divine light of heaven and earth would be negated by the chaotic divine light in an instant. If his punch had landed on Bibidan's body just now, it was very likely that the chaotic divine light would have been activated. He might not have been able to hurt Bibidan. I miscalculated. I've really shot myself in the foot. Wang Fengxin was speechless. Although it was unexpected, it was reasonable. A part of the chaotic divine light was left in Bibidan's body. It was very likely that it had combined with Bibidan's Rakshasa divine power and mutated. That was why this happened. However, this kind of consumption couldn't be recovered. Once the chaotic divine light was consumed, it should be gone. What's wrong? At this moment, Bibidan seemed to have seen through Wang Feng's thoughts. He said indifferently, "Are you regretting it? Do you feel that you've shot yourself in the foot?" Wang Feng, Qian Rinxue frowned again. Something was wrong. Bibidan, who had transformed into an extreme Rakshasa, looked at Wang Feng. Wang Feng shook his head and said, "Even if I had to do it again countless times, I wouldn't regret it. That was the most fortunate thing I've done in my life." At this point, Wang Fengxin added, "One of them." Bibidan was stunned when he heard that. When he thought that his daughter was still here, his face turned slightly hot. A blush flashed across his face. Fortunately, the purplish-black flames on his body were flickering, so it couldn't be seen. "Cut the crap!" Bibidan shouted coldly. Qian Rinxue's frown deepened. Something was very wrong. It seemed that Bibidan wasn't the only one who wanted to kill Wang Feng. Between the two of them, she felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. After Bibidan finished speaking, he once again charged towards Wang Feng. Extreme demonic scythe. The purplish-black flames on Bibidan's body burned fiercely. The Rakshasa demonic scythe in his hand became hundreds of meters long. Chapter 10-15. The terrifying and evil aura was so condensed that it seemed to have turned the world into a hell of ghosts crying. Countless phantoms appeared in the air and poured into the Rakshasa demon scythe. The purplish-black light ignited the flames on the Rakshasa demon scythe. The extreme and terrifying power covered the sky, making it impossible for Wang Feng to escape. This move was obviously more powerful than Qian Rinxue's Holy Sun Sword. Innate 5-element flag. Wang Feng was expressionless. The Wuji apricot flag appeared in his hand. Wang Feng's body was instantly enveloped in a layer of faint apricot yellow light. It was like a layer of armor on his skin. Wang Feng didn't use the innate 5-element domain, only the Wuji apricot flag's invincibility effect. However, this effect was much weaker than the innate 5-element domain's 25 seconds of invincibility. It only lasted for a few seconds. It was enough. The extreme path demon scythe landed on Wang Feng's body. The huge force caused the forest behind the Douluo palace to be directly shaken open, a ravine that was thousands of meters long. It was like a meteorite that landed on the ground and glided for thousands of meters. However, clang. This attack landed on Wang Feng's body, but it only caused a slight crack on the layer of apricot yellow light on Wang Feng's body. Wang Feng didn't suffer any damage. It seems that the apricot flag's invincibility has a limit. If my strength is far greater than Bibidan's, I should be able to break this invincibility. Wang Fengxin thought. It could easily defend against the invincibility effect of the divine skill. This was already Bibidan's strongest move. After easily taking this move, Qian Rinxue's heart became even more complicated. He didn't just let me go, he let me go far. Let the me just now let that power out. Qian Rinxue felt more and more guilty. Especially now that he saw Bibidan being crushed by Wang Feng. What other moves do you have? Wang Feng stared at Bibidan. Bibidan was silent. The strength that Wang Feng displayed at this moment was far beyond her imagination. She thought that she should have a high chance of defeating him. Gods and humans were two different things after all. Even if he had absorbed a million-year soul ring, He was still only a soul master. He could easily crush a million-year soul beast or a demigod. But against a true god, the chances of winning were very low. However, it was clear that this man, who had created many miracles, had created another miracle. Not only was the other party completely suppressing him throughout the battle, even his strongest move was completely ineffective against him. Lose, but if I lose, then, as if thinking of something, Bibidon sighed in his heart. Kill me, Bibidon said calmly. Wang Feng was astounded when he heard this, and he said instinctively, Why would I kill you? That's not what we agreed on. After saying this, suddenly Wang Feng thought of something. Oh no, I let it slip. Bibidon's expression flashed with a trace of shame and anger, but he still said indifferently, It's meaningless. That agreement is meaningless. Agreement? Qian Rinxue was stunned. What agreement? Qian Rinxue looked at Wang Feng. He glanced at the Bibidon again. He seemed to have thought of something in his heart, and his breath suddenly stopped. He even felt that his vision was a little dark. There's no agreement, Wang Feng said calmly. Bullshit! Qian Rinxue roared and stared at Wang Feng. He rushed directly in front of Wang Feng. The two were less than half a meter apart. At this moment, Bibidon also frowned slightly and looked at Qian Rinxue. Although he knew that Xiao Shui had feelings for Wang Feng, Bibidon knew that with Xiao Shui's temperament, it was impossible for her to tolerate Wang Feng having so many confidants. Sooner or later, she would directly end it. Although over the years, the two of them had been strangers, not like mother and daughter, but more like enemies. But there was a good saying. The person who understood the other person the most was not your friend, but your enemy. Obviously, Bibidon knew Qian Rinxue very well, and Qian Rinxue also knew Bibidon. Therefore, Bibidon was not worried that Qian Rinxue would have too many feelings for Wang Feng, and it would gradually fade with time. Moreover, although the two of them had known each other since they were young, they were not close. Since Wang Feng had that agreement with him, he would never accept Xiao Shui. Now, why did he feel that Xiao Shui and Wang Feng seemed to did something happen between the two of them? During the 1 year that he had disappeared? Tell me, what agreement did you have with her? Qian Rinxue said coldly. Bibidon stared at Wang Feng as if to say, If you dare to say it, I'll teach you a lesson. Oh, there's really no agreement. Wang Fengxin's heart was beating wildly, but his face was calm. I had an agreement with Bibidon a long time ago. If I can defeat her, she will agree to one of my requests. If I can't defeat her, I will agree to one of her requests. Quick-witted, Wang Feng could only change the wording of the agreement for the time being. At least it sounded like something like, Everything is under Bibidon's control. It's not up to me to decide. Although it was very vague. But don't forget, Qian Rinxue also said something like that. If he said it out loud, Qian Rinxue would definitely know immediately. Moreover, Wang Feng was not afraid that Bibidon would blame him, because Bibidon would definitely not want her daughter to know the real content of the agreement between them. Is that so? Qian Rinxue was stunned. This agreement did not seem to be anything strange. It was just a request. However, Bibidon's face darkened. Wang Feng, how dare he change the original agreement so casually? Although the meaning was similar, Bibidon did not say anything out of consideration for Shui. This guy was really quick-witted. Look, now that the battle is over, isn't it time to stop fighting? Let's go back and rest? Wang Feng looked at Qian Rinxue. However, when Wang Feng saw Bibidon's gloomy face, his heart skipped a beat. Finished fighting? Rest? Qian Rinxue blushed and shook his head. It's no use, Wang Feng. Our previous agreement is meaningless. Today, either. At this point, Bibidon, who was standing at the side, suddenly froze. Wait. What? Did Wang Feng and Shui also have an agreement? Wang Fengxin felt a chill in his heart again. Why are you talking about this for no reason? I already said to stop fighting and rest. Why are you talking about the agreement? Bibidan's eyes were like two sharp blades. Chilly. Schwerer, what agreement do you have with him? Bibi Dong's face was as calm as a lake as she asked word by word. Your Highness, I'm not that close to you. Unexpectedly, Qian Rinxue said calmly, please call me by my name. As for the agreement between Wang Feng and me, it's between the two of us. Why should I tell you? After the Sea God's Island, Qian Rinxue's relationship with Bibidan was extremely bad. Although Wang Feng was not dead, the relationship between Qian Rinxue and Bibidan had not recovered. Chapter 10:16. Oh, is that so? Bibidan looked at Wang Feng and said calmly, Wang Feng, what's the agreement between you and Schwer? Is it something that even I, her mother, don't know about? Wang Feng was speechless. Oh no, Bibidan was different from Wang Feng. Bibidan knew most of the things between him and Qian Rinxue. She also knew that Qian Rinxue liked him. The only thing she didn't know was about the angel fantasy realm. But Qian Rinxue was different. She didn't know anything. However, Qian Rinxue probably didn't want to reveal the agreement between them, right? Thinking of this, Wang Feng organized his words and was about to repeat what he said just now. But at this moment Qian Rinxue said calmly, since you want to know so much, I'll tell you. Wang Feng doesn't have to say it. The agreement is simple. If he beats me, I'll listen to him. If he can't beat me, he'll listen to me in the future. These words were very straightforward. However, Bibidan trembled all over. Seeing this, Wang Feng's eyes darkened. Damn. Why is Qian Rinxue so unpredictable every time? This is too difficult. Wang Wu, you've got a good plan. Bibidan screamed. Anger, extreme anger. Wang Feng could feel the anger in Bibidan's heart at this moment. Qian Rinxue also frowned and looked at Bibidan. She said coldly, although this agreement is meaningless now, what does it have to do with you? Obviously, she also felt the anger in Bibidan's heart at this moment. Suddenly, Qian Rinxue's heart skipped a beat. She recalled the strange scene just now. Combined with the current situation, she suddenly looked at Wang Feng. Wang Feng, were you lying to me just now? What's the agreement between you and her? Wang Feng was speechless. Looking at Bibidan at this moment, Wang Feng knew that he couldn't hide it anymore. He had to lay his cards on the table. Same as you. In an instant. When these 4 words were spoken, the world seemed to have stopped. Fortunately, the 3 of them were talking in midair, and no one could hear them. If this were to spread out... Qian Rinxue was stunned. He was dumbfounded. I feel like I'm dreaming? What was going on? What was going on? Who am I? Qian Rinxue looked at Wang Feng blankly, and then looked at the Bibidan. You all. When did it start? Impossible, this is impossible. I don't believe it. She looked at the Bibidan, her chest heaving violently. Anger, extreme anger. Not only Wang Feng, but also Bibidan. Back on the Sea God's Island, Bibidan had tried to recruit Wang Feng at the last moment. He had even said that as long as Wang Feng joined the Martial Spirit Palace, he would allow her to be with Wang Feng. Otherwise, it would be impossible. But what about now? What was this? No wonder Wang Feng refused to join the Martial Spirit Palace. No wonder you wanted to kill Wang Feng. You wanted him to leave the Martial Spirit Palace in this way, didn't you? In this way, the 2 of you could get rid of me legitimately. You didn't want Wang Feng to join the Martial Spirit Palace at all, right? Qian Rinxue looked at the Bibidan with anger in his eyes, as if he had figured everything out. If Wang Feng knew what Qian Rinxue was thinking, he would probably hit his head on a piece of tofu and die. But at this moment, Bibidan had a completely different thought. What a beast! Bibidan looked at Wang Feng angrily. He still wanted Schwerer? He had an agreement with him, and he had promised him. He had also made it very clear. If he could defeat him, and there were no accidents, he would reluctantly agree to his ideas. However, it would only be limited to those few close female friends of his. But he should have given up on Xiao Shui. How dare he seduce Xiao Shui? Wang Feng. Qian Renxue laughed. Bibi Dan. Qian Renxue pointed at Wang Feng. Wang Feng, you're so shameless. Your filthy thoughts. You're really. At this point, Qian Renxue seemed to be unable to continue. He looked at the Bibi Dan with a sneer. What a hypocritical woman. She's as shameless as Wang Feng. She even tried to steal from her own daughter. She couldn't bring herself to say the last two words. Bibidan's face turned red and white. He could only suppress his anger and said in a deep voice, Xiao Shui, it's not what you think. I didn't think Wang Wu would try to seduce me after he had an agreement with me. Bibidan couldn't bring herself to say the last two words. Qian Renxue sneered. She looked at Wang Feng with indifference and anger in her eyes. Bibidan also looked at Wang Feng with a gloomy face. The anger in his eyes was the same as Qian Renxue's. Explosion. Wang Feng was also about to explode. Sure enough, the thing he was most worried about had happened, however. He was also angry when he heard what the two of them said. F***ck, why am I the one to blame for everything? Why are you looking at me? Wang Feng said calmly, am I wrong? Qian Renxue was stunned. Bibidan was also stunned. First of all, you were the ones who made the agreement, Wang Feng said calmly. I didn't even have the right to choose. Do you need me to remind you of your tone at that time? You didn't even give me a chance to refuse. The two of them were stunned. That seemed to be the case. Secondly, I don't think I violated any rules in this agreement, right? Wang Feng glanced at the two of them. I was just following the agreement to fight with you. Did you add any special requirements in this agreement? Or were there any rules? I didn't violate the agreement at all. Am I wrong? Wang Feng looked at the two of them. The two of them sneered at the same time. It was true. But greed was the biggest mistake. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Wang Feng coughed a few times and said, then let's do as you said and cancel the agreement, okay? We'll mind our own business and have nothing to do with each other. Let's pretend this fight never happened. Wang Feng decided to give up on that unrealistic idea. Hearing this, the two of them were stunned again. Previously, they wanted to cancel the agreement for some special reasons, but now that Wang Feng took the initiative to cancel the agreement, they were a little disappointed. No! The next moment, the two of them said in unison. After that, Qian Renxue and Bibidan were stunned. Keep one you choose, Bibidan said calmly. Qian Renxue frowned and glanced at Bibidan, then snorted coldly. That's what I thought. I'll choose your mother. Wang Fengxin said. I can't choose. Wang Feng laid his cards on the table. Either I want all of them, or I don't choose one. You choose. Bibidan. Qian Renxue, I don't want to choose. Bibidan only felt that the anger in his heart was a little uncontrollable. I just want to kill you now, Clang. Qian Renxue suddenly pointed the angelic holy sword at Wang Feng. The expression on his face almost said, me too. You can't beat me even if you join forces. Wang Feng said calmly, don't even think about killing me. I'm right here. If you really want to kill me, come at me. After that, Wang Feng didn't move. He closed his eyes and didn't take any precautions. Bibidan and Qian Renxue directly rushed over. The two artifacts, with terrifying power, slashed directly at Wang Feng. But almost at the same time, the moment they fell on Wang Feng, they stopped. The tip of the sickle was only a few centimeters away from Wang Feng's neck. The tip of Qian Renxue's sword was only a few centimeters away from Wang Feng's heart. Then, the two of them began to tremble. Immediately, Bibidan was the first to put down the magic sickle. His face was pale and calm. Then, Qian Renxue did the same. Wang Feng opened his eyes and let out a long breath in his heart. Damn, that was close. He made the right bet. However, at this moment, a crack suddenly appeared in the sky, and a cold and emotionless voice came from that crack. successor of the Rakshasa god, successor of the angel god, do you know that disobeying the god's order will result in the removal of your divine position or death? Now I will take back your divine positions." A majestic voice came. Heaven and earth were silent. P.S. Please vote, please subscribe. Chapter 10:17. The great sound reverberated through the sky. It was also at this moment. Everyone in the martial spirit city was knocked unconscious by this great sound. Those below the titled Douluo level were all knocked unconscious. The majestic power was an existence that surpassed the rules of this world. It was not something that humans could resist at all. Wang Feng was also stunned. But because he had some guesses in his heart, he instantly knew what was going on. Stripped of the deity position? Wang Feng had never heard of this before. Stripped of the deity position meant that one's cultivation would be completely gone. Even if one's foundation was slightly weaker, it was very likely that one would age instantly and die on the spot. Wang Feng stared at the crack in the air. In the crack there was an extremely dark shadow. Nothing could be seen, but the crack looked like a slightly squinted eye. It was eerie and terrifying. Just this slash alone gave people the feeling that they were in control of the world. However, at this moment, Qian Rinxue and Bibidan's faces turned even paler. Bibidan's expression was extremely calm, as if he had already guessed this scene. Qian Rinxue clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were filled with helplessness and anger. "When you inherited the deity position, you were threatened?" Wang Feng looked at Qian Rinxue and Bibidan and asked in a deep voice, "What did those gods ask you to do?" Qian Rinxue pursed his lips and did not speak. Bibidan glanced at him indifferently and did not speak either. "Did they ask you to kill me?" Wang Feng directly said what he had already guessed in his heart. Just now, he had indeed let down his guard in his heart. Otherwise, it would not be called a gamble. It was also the best time for the two to kill him. If they really went all out at that time, even if Wang Feng did not die, he would be crippled. That was also the only chance for them to kill him. Other than that, there was no other possibility. But the two did not make a move in the end. Moreover, at the beginning, Qian Rinxue's eyes were filled with killing intent. Even his consciousness was not clear. Obviously, he was affected by another force. Bibidan was slightly better. He was still conscious. After that, that's why this happened. The god of the realm of the gods probably sensed that Bibidan and Qian Rinxue had given up such a good opportunity. He knew that it was impossible for the two of them to kill him, so he shouted angrily. As for why the deity world wanted to deal with him, Wang Feng roughly knew the reason. Previously, the angel god had said that his life would be in danger if he used the mutated angel of light and dark martial soul. Clearly, the god realm was the only place in which the angel god could say something like that to put his life in danger. The origin of the angel of light and dark martial soul was probably not simple. For the firmament to target it, after figuring out the cause and effect, Wang Fengxin was furious. "You think you can take back the deity position just because you say so? Have you asked them about me?" At this moment, Qian Rinxue and Bibidan took a step forward. Bibidan said coldly, "Wang Feng deserves to die, but his life is not up to you to decide. You want to kill him through us? I can't do it. I don't want this deity position." Qian Rinxue said calmly, "If he hadn't helped me in the angel fantasy realm, I wouldn't have inherited this angel deity position. Since you want to take away this deity position, go ahead. We might kill Wang Feng, but we won't kill him under your orders." Wang Feng was speechless. These women's logic was so strange that Wang Feng wanted to pry open their heads to see what they were thinking. Naturally, the deity position could not be taken away. The divine power and the two of them had already merged into one. Their bodies had already transcended the mortal world. They were divine bodies. Once the deity position was lost, Their vitality would quickly disappear and they would die soon. Especially Bibidon. Even if Wang Feng could use the Golden Lotus to protect their lives, the Golden Lotus could not heal their weak souls. At this moment, the crack in the sky widened slightly. "Humph!" A cold voice sounded. In the next moment, a huge black palm with a cold aura reached out from the crack and grabbed the two of them. The palm was made of pure energy and exuded a destructive aura. From afar, the entire sky seemed to be covered. "Come back here!" Wang Feng's eyes widened and he pulled the two of them behind him. "Your deity positions were obtained with your own ability." He said to take away your deity positions, and you're willing to be taken away? The two of them were stunned. Qian Renshua looked at Wang Feng with a complicated look. At this moment, he didn't seem to be in the mood to care about anything else. Everything didn't seem so important in the current situation. There was no choice. Bibidon's expression was cold, but her indifference was directed at the crack in the sky. And the heavenly palm shadow. Gods also had their own rules. Becoming a god was just to transcend this Douluo world. When Bibidon inherited the power of the Rakshasa deity, they knew. A god was just a powerhouse who had cultivated to a certain level. However, in the next moment, Wang Feng's aura exploded. He walked in front of the two of them and said calmly, "Then I'll choose for you." Hearing this, the two of them were stunned. In the next moment, they saw Wang Feng rise directly into the sky. "Since you want to kill me, why do you need to borrow someone else's hand?" Wang Feng's head bloomed with a green lotus, and his shout was like thunder. In the void above the green lotus of creation, boundless golden light seemed to have paved a brand new green cloud bed, blocking the heavenly claw. The moment the two came into contact, the pitch-black heavenly palm shadow was annihilated in the green cloud bed. The green lotus of creation could dissolve any attack. Obviously, this palm seemed to be equally effective. Ridiculous! The cold voice came from the crack again. In an instant, these two words seemed to represent the mysterious power of rules. The palm shadow became several times larger again. The green cloud bed formed by the green lotus of creation trembled uncontrollably. The black giant palm formed by energy began to shatter, but it couldn't be completely annihilated. The broken giant palm began to pass through the green cloud bed, and its power seemed to have been reduced by a lot. But it was still extremely terrifying. Wang Feng's face was expressionless. At this moment, he stood in midair with a majestic posture. 3000 Ice Realm. The green lotus of creation suddenly lit up with an ice-golden soul ring. The ice-golden light bloomed from the soul ring, and the endless power of absolute ice seemed to have turned the entire world into a vast expanse of white. Although the 3000 Ice Realm was a million-year soul ring's soul skill, it was generally unable to resist such god-tier power. Previously, the Lin Lord of Ice Empress used the power of absolute ice to freeze the first heavenly tribulation. The power of absolute ice was also the limit of energy in this world. Although the broken giant palm wasn't completely dissolved by the green lotus of creation, most of its power was neutralized. At this moment, the giant palm was suddenly frozen. The 1,000-meter-big broken palm was frozen in midair just like that. Wang Feng condensed all the power in his body and punched. However, the huge black broken palm that was sealed in ice was completely out of Wang Feng's expectations. It was ridiculously strong. A punch of over 1 million kilograms struck the center of the giant palm, and countless cracks appeared on the entire giant palm. With the center as the fulcrum, countless cracks appeared on this 1,000-meter-big giant palm. But it didn't shatter, on the contrary, the strong rebounding force caused Wang Feng to fall from midair. Wang Feng's eyes flickered and he shouted, "Soul bone, open for me!" After the second brush of chaos, Wang Feng's 6 soul bones were close to fusing, and he only lacked an opportunity. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.